A brutal backstab sets the stage. Suho, a master of the blade, was forced to his knees. He faced the very snakes he once called brothers. His limbs trembled, veins blackened by a lethal toxin. He coughed up crimson lungs, desperate for air. This wasn't a common poison. It was a death sentence. A forbidden cocktail was shredding him from within. Two teammates loomed over his fading form like vultures. They offered no mercy, only mockery. They actually savored the sight of his agonizing struggle. A warrior spat a sneer. Suho should have joined their corrupt clan, but he walked a lone path. He stayed loyal to his oath, choosing cold justice over their filth and greed. They had just conquered a disaster gate, a literal hellhole, where nightmare monsters crawl into reality. But these traitors wanted that hell left open. They weren't finishing the job. They were plotting. Leaving monsters alive meant the nightmare would never end. It was a cycle of controlled chaos. Danger meant demand. As long as terror reigned, they kept their fame and high status. Suho remembered every blood-soaked battle they shared. He had trusted these vipers with his very life. Now they watched him expire with zero remorse. They claimed his death was just a necessity. Suho was the lone holdout against their scheme. The archer stepped forward with a cold gaze. With a casual gesture, he offered a deal. Join the dark side now or embrace the grave. A second chance at a heavy price. But Suho knew better than to trust those who poisoned him. He could feel the end approaching. The poison had already claimed his heart and soul. There was no miracle coming. Survival was a pipe dream, and his time was officially up. If he was going down, he would drag at least one traitor to hell with him. Suho ignited his remaining life force. A terrifying aura exploded sharp enough to slice the air. The group froze, paralyzed by his pure killing intent. They scrambled back in absolute dread. The woman in the back screamed, her voice cracking as she begged them to stay calm. The archer was nearly wetting himself from the pressure. Suho lunged with the speed of a demon. In a blur of steel, he struck. His blade carved through the warrior's arm like paper. Next, he decapitated the dark mage with lethal precision. The archer fled like a coward, dragging the healer. Their smug arrogance had turned to ash. In an instant, their world had completely shattered. Only primal horror remained. The healer frantically cast spells, trying to sew the warrior back together. But the magic failed. She realized with shock that Suho's strike was beyond any healing art. Something had shifted. Suho wasn't just a dying man anymore. He was a force of pure willpower. Forged from his indomitable spirit, his weapon became the intangible sword, a blade of pure determination. But the flame burned too bright. His energy flickered out and his broken body finally collapsed. He tumbled backward, plummeting off the jagged cliff. He vanished into the dark abyss below. Nothing but a hollow silence remained. Then Suho's eyes snapped open to the sound of bedlam. Shouts, sirens, and the frantic rhythm of boots. A firefighter was hauling him through the smoke. His mind was a fractured mess. Reality felt like a hazy, distorted fever dream. Was this a nightmare? The rescuer sprinted toward a safe zone through the panicked masses. Nothing made sense. The last memory Suho had was his own agonizing death on the cliff. He had died, he felt it. So how was he breathing in this chaotic, resurrected reality? Then he saw the rift. A gate had burst open, triggering a full-scale dungeon break. Hordes of goblins were swarming the streets, turning the city into a literal slaughterhouse. They were tearing through everything in sight. Suho's eyes landed on a shattered sign in the wreckage. Sindorim Station. The realization hit him like a train. He had been here before. This was the exact catastrophe from years ago. He was living through the first outbreak again. Suddenly, a stray arrow hissed through the air, piercing the firefighter's back. The man screamed and collapsed. Suho hit the pavement as the green tide closed in for the kill. Gritting through the agony, the wounded firefighter begged Suho to flee. Yet Suho didn't budge. Escape wasn't on his mind. His gaze locked onto the discarded axe nearby. He snatched it up. Winding up, he launched the heavy blade with explosive force. The steel blurred through the air. It cleaved the goblin instantly. In that chaotic heartbeat, the air began to flicker strangely. A glowing system interface manifested right before his eyes, flashing a message of congratulations. He had officially awakened. Suho froze, staring at the screen. It was just as he remembered. The system prompted a class selection. Out of habit, his fingers twitched toward the screen. He nearly chose warrior by instinct, but he stopped. This time he'd wait. Suho shifted his focus to the pack. The goblins were screeching their taunts, echoing everywhere. They laughed like they'd already won the day. But Suho wasn't finding any of it funny. Without wasting a breath, he dove into the swarm. His movements were terrifyingly sharp and fluid. He danced through their strikes like they were standing still. Suddenly, a goblin lunged from behind. It tried to flank him, but the moment it met Suho's cold stare, it paralyzed with dread. Suho reached down and reclaimed his blood-stained axe. The monster recognized that weapon immediately. Its face twisted in sheer terror. Honestly, if these things wore clothes, it would have ruined its pants. Suho wasn't here for drama. Before the creature could even shriek, he cut it down. One fluid motion ended it. He silenced the beast before it could make a bigger mess. He didn't stop there. He snatched a rusted blade from the dirt and kept moving forward. These pests are nightmares for rookies, but to a veteran like Suho, they were just fodder. He became a whirlwind of steel, dismantling the goblin horde with surgical speed and precision. Minutes later, the wave was annihilated. It happened so fast it felt like a fever dream. As the dust settled, Suho gripped his blade. He realized he'd gotten a bit carried away. He hadn't been calm. He was operating on raw, unbridled instinct and buried frustration. Raw power is great, but he needed a cool head to survive this new timeline. Still, destiny didn't send him back for no reason. There was a higher purpose here. This was his ultimate second chance. A rare do-over, and he wasn't going to blow it. Ding system alerts flooded his vision, applauding him for mastering high-level swordsmanship skills instantly. Something else caught his eye. The injured firefighter was gaping at him in total disbelief. Suho's god-tier combat didn't go unnoticed. The man wondered, was this kid a secret player? Suho gave a stoic nod before turning back to the screen. His choice was finally made. He was becoming a healer. Decision locked, he approached the wounded man with a calm request. He offered to treat the injury. The firefighter blinked, confused why a frontline slayer was acting like a medic. The logic wasn't adding up, but Suho didn't wait. He whispered the spell, Healing Light. A warm golden radiance enveloped the wound. Within seconds, the torn flesh knit back together perfectly. The man was speechless. How could someone who just soloed a mob be a soft-hearted healer? He fought like a sword saint. Before questions could fly, a new system alert pinged. Time to gear up. From the holographic arsenal, he grabbed a basic no-nonsense training blade. It was the exact same model from his past. Now he was ready to breach the gate. His determination was palpable. Even the firefighter felt a chill from the looming dungeon ahead. But Suho had a secret weapon. He'd unlocked elite sword talents before even picking a class. Innate skills are game changers. They work regardless of what official job a player chooses. As he levels up, these hidden talents will evolve into something truly legendary. He thought of Isabella's Holy Spirit, the pinnacle of healing. If only he'd had that power then, history would have been different. But this time, Suho had a plan and the resolve to execute it. He would be a warrior priest, fueled by the memory of the traitors who once abandoned him. Ironclad determination burned in his eyes as he approached the very gate that had claimed his soul in a former life. Once a defenseless novice, Suho now carried the bone-deep instincts of a master swordsman etched into his soul. Victory was certain. Abandoning all doubt, Suho crossed the threshold and vanished into the swirling abyss of the gate. Emerging on the other side, Suho was immediately swallowed by the suffocating darkness of a twisted ancient woodland. The holographic interface flickered to life, instantly christening this nightmare realm with a cryptic name, Green Red. The bizarre title barely registered before the heavy silence of the woods demanded Suho's absolute unwavering attention. Suho soon discovered a trail of carnage-mangled goblin remains strewn haphazardly across the rotting forest floor. Their contorted faces told a story of pure trauma. They weren't just killed, they were hunted by something truly monstrous. They died in sheer terror. Suddenly, a low, primal growl vibrated through the air, echoing deep within Suho's chest. Scanning the tree line, his gaze locked onto two massive figures, the hulking, muscular silhouettes of elite hobgoblins. Dragging their latest kill behind them, these behemoths were a far cry from the weak fodder Suho had previously faced. These were apex predators, vicious, lethal, and bloodthirsty. The moment they locked eyes with Suho, the hunt was on. Their eyes gleamed with gluttonous joy at the sight of a human, a rare, succulent delicacy in these woods. Discarding their old meal, they leveled rusted, jagged blades at Suho, salivating at the thought of carving fresh meat. But these monsters had made a fatal miscalculation. The human they viewed as easy prey was anything but ordinary. They weren't looking at a victim. They were facing a predator. The first beast lunged forward with explosive fury. Its blade whistled through empty air as Suho evaded with surgical grace, despite his dangerously low level and stats. His current blade lacked the power to pierce their iron hide, but Suho didn't need raw strength to win. He targeted their fatal flaws. With a lightning-fast burst of speed, he closed the gap on the lead monster. His strike found the beast's eye with lethal precision, drawing a blood-curdling shriek that shattered the forest's eerie calm. The scream shook the trees themselves. Showing a flash of grim mercy, Suho delivered a swift, final killing blow. Actually, Suho hadn't meant to finish it so soon. His reflexes were just too sharp, a pure, unintentional overkill. He'd planned to farm the beast for experience and skills, but his sheer efficiency had cut the lesson short. Fixing his gaze on the survivor, Suho prepared to maximize his gains. The beast was now blind with rage. It let out a thunderous roar, swinging its club in a desperate frenzy, but Suho remained chillingly composed. He danced through the storm of strikes with fluid footwork as the monster slashed wildly, completely losing its composure. The monster couldn't land a single hit. Suho knew that in this system, repetitive actions were the key to unlocking legendary skills. After successfully baiting several more attacks, the system began to react to his perfect evasion. A satisfied smirk played on his lips. The dodge skill was finally his, but Suho was just getting started. Next up was skill number 2. Suho began meeting steel with steel, deflecting every heavy blow with frame-perfect timing. Parrying wasn't just a defensive tactic, it was a core pillar of mastery that unlocked a tier of advanced, elite combat abilities. After a flurry of perfect deflections, the system chime finally signaled his hard-earned success. The parry skill was officially unlocked. By now, however, the exhausted beast was barely clinging to its consciousness. It stumbled blindly, gasping for air as its stamina hit 0. Recognizing its absolute limit, Suho moved in. With a clean beheading, Suho ended its misery. It wasn't malice, just cold efficiency. Now 2 new skills were active. He was hungry for more. This wasn't about the thrill of the kill, but about the grind for power. He needed EXP better stats and absolute strength. Meanwhile, outside the portal, the tension among waiting hunters reached fever pitch. Word leaked that an unauthorized intruder had breached their gate. As the rumor spread, the group's patience completely snapped. Vile curses filled the air as fury erupted. They felt disrespected, outraged that some nobody dared invade their territory. They were already plotting a brutal welcome-back party, eager to teach this mystery hunter a lesson in gate etiquette. They weren't letting this slide. But nearby, a very different, far more serious conversation was taking place. A weary firefighter was being grilled by a group of stern men in sharp, expensive suits. Agents from the Hunter Association were investigating the breach, and their primary target was a man named Suho. The witness spilled everything. He made it clear Suho wasn't just some rookie. He was something far more dangerous. Suho had single-handedly annihilated an undead horde, regenerating wounds in seconds. The listening officers froze as the report finished. Shock washed over his face. He'd made it in record time, but the goblin horde was already nothing but a bloodbath. The kicker, word on the street, was that a healer did this. At first, he just laughed it off as a joke, claiming it was straight-up cap. In this world, healers never packed enough heat to pull off a massacre like this, by themselves. Yet, if this mystery man actually soloed a gate packed with savage goblins, he was too cracked to overlook. If the rumors were true, they needed to sign him, as soon as possible. Deep in the dungeon, Suho was locked in farming hobgoblins and stacking experience points like a pro. He blurred through the chaos, his blade claiming heads with surgical precision. Every strike was effortless, cold, and calculated. He left one lone survivor on purpose. A single soul-crushing gaze from Suho sent the beast sprinting away, like its life depended on it. But that was the play. Suho wanted that monster to run and call for backup. Taking a quick breather, he pulled up his status screen to check his gains. After wiping that first wave, his stats and skills were leveling up fast. Standing atop a mountain of monster corpses, he realized the loot was still waiting. Deep inside those rotting chests lay the real prize magic stones. They were just low-grade shards, nothing legendary, but each one fetched about 50,000 won on the market. For Suho, that was pure profit worth the grind. Usually a hunter of his caliber wouldn't waste time scavenging. He was on a clock, but his bank account was looking more like a broke student than a top-tier hunter. He wasn't leaving money on the floor. He started carving out the stones, meticulously stashing them into his inventory. Once the field was picked clean, a sense of satisfaction finally hit him. It was a solid payday, but the moment he tried to catch his breath, the atmosphere shifted violently. A wave of sheer, jagged killing intent slammed into him. He spun around to find 30 hobgoblins closing in fast. Leading the pack was that same terrified coward he'd spared earlier. With their target locked, the horde charged Suho in a feral frenzy, but he didn't even flinch. Instead, he vaulted into the air, moving with the lethal grace of a shadow assassin. In the blink of an eye, monster heads were bouncing off the dirt. His blade work was so sharp and fluid, it was like slicing through silk. Right then, the system chimed in, congratulating him on another level up. Fresh stat points flooded his profile, fueling his body with even more raw power, now fully buffed. And having farmed enough experience, Suho decided to stop playing with his food. It was time for the grand finale. He plunged into the thick of the mob, his sword dancing in a whirlwind of steel, shredding the horde with brutal efficiency. Suddenly, one brave hobgoblin lunged straight at him, desperate for a kill. But instead of dodging in fear, Suho's eyes flashed with pure hype. He wasn't stressed. He was actually enjoying the heat. Finally, the gate's boss emerged, a level 20 chief hobgoblin. Being the big bad, it lunged first with a heavy strike, but whiffed completely. Instantly, a pack of minions tried to jump him from his blind spot. Suho didn't even turn his head, he just slashed backward and deleted them instantly. Desperate, the boss activated its trump card, Fear. It was a filthy mental skill that froze targets in their tracks, drowning them in a sea of absolute dread. The higher the level, the more soul-crushing the paralysis. Because this was a boss, it made total sense why it possessed such a high tier. psychological attack in a low-rank gate. But here's the catch. Suho had zero mental resistance gear to tank the debuff. He was wide open. Seeing Suho seemingly paralyzed, the boss charged in for the execution, thinking victory was in its hands. But it had no idea Suho wasn't some soft rookie. He was a battle-hardened vet who'd survived hell itself. He knew the perfect counter to this mind game. Without blinking, Suho tightened his grip and sliced into his own arm. That sudden jolt of agony shattered the mental chains of the fear skill. With his head back in the game, he deflected the boss's killing blow with ease. But instead of countering the big guy, Suho pivoted. He focused on the small fry, first dancing through the field and reaping every last minion in seconds. In one explosive burst, he cleared the entire board, leaving the chief hobgoblin all alone. Before the final showdown with the chief, Suho took a second to patch up the cut on his arm. With the distractions cleared and his body fully restored, it was finally time for the ultimate showdown. Just Suho versus the beast. Seeing the cold determination in Suho's eyes, the monster's bravado shattered. The real bloodbath was about to erupt. Steel clashed against hide in a frantic, violent rhythm. Suho poured every ounce of his willpower into each heavy strike. However, his current level was holding him back, as his blade barely managed to scratch the monster's thick, iron-like armor. Brute force was clearly a dead end. Recognizing the wall in front of him, Suho immediately shifted to a more lethal strategy. He stopped swinging blindly and drove his cold steel deep into the beast's thigh, targeting a weak spot to cripple it. In a desperate counter, the monster unleashed its fear skill, attempting to paralyze Suho with sheer psychological terror. But its trick failed miserably. Once a warrior conquers his own nightmares, they lose all power over his soul. Having crushed that fear once before, Suho remained unfazed, relentlessly zeroing in on the monster's mangled limb. He carved through the wound, repeatedly exploiting the weakness with surgical precision and brutal, unwavering force. The massive boss finally crumbled to the earth, gasping its last breaths. But Suho wasn't done playing with his prey yet. Instead of delivering the finishing blow, he suddenly activated Healing Light, a skill usually reserved for saving allies, not enemies. He used it on the monster. The half-dead creature was utterly baffled, its mind reeling as its wounds began to knit. It couldn't fathom why the very human who had just destroyed it was now acting like its divine savior. Suho, however, was low-key vibing. He had realized he could exploit a glitch, an endless loop of carnage and recovery. This wasn't a fight anymore. It was an infinite training session designed to grind his combat stats to the max. The cycle of injury and restoration continued. With every round, Suho's power spiked, his mastery evolving at a terrifying pace. His skills rapidly ascended to rank A and B. Meanwhile, the once mighty boss was reduced to a broken, shivering mess. It was consumed by pure, unadulterated dread, unable to even meet the eyes of its monstrous human tormentor. Having drained the trial of every drop of experience, Suho decided the monster's role in his growth was finally over. With chilling composure, he severed the beast's head in one clean motion. The gate was officially conquered and silenced. Standing victorious, Suho was crowned the MVP of the raid, raking in a massive haul of bonus experience points. He finally hit level 10, a massive milestone for any hunter looking to climb the ranks of the Awakened. Even his Healing Light reached rank E, and he unlocked a brand new utility skill, the power of Cure. It seemed basic now, but with his growth rate, he might soon be purging 10,000 types of deadly toxins. The future looked insanely bright, but for now the work here was done. It was time to exit the dungeon. Suho headed for the portal, while the atmosphere outside reached a boiling point of tension and uncertainty. The gate's entrance began to flicker and vibrate, sending waves of nervous chatter through the crowd of onlookers. Before anyone could speculate further, Suho emerged walking through the rift with the casual swagger of a true champion. There wasn't a trace of exhaustion on his face, just pure cold composure, as the world stared at him in shock. They couldn't wrap their heads around who this mystery powerhouse was, but Suho wasn't interested in giving them answers. He let their curiosity burn, as high-ranking guilds began to scramble toward the scene to scout him. Every elite recruiter was left on red as Suho ignored their desperate invitations and walked past the flashing cameras. Instead, he marched straight toward a man in a sharp, formal suit, waiting at the edge of the perimeter. Suho greeted him with total confidence. This wasn't just some low-level staffer. He was a man of serious influence. This was Yang Chul-min, the legendary team leader from the South Korean Hunter Association, and he looked totally blindsided. Chul-min clearly hadn't expected the conqueror to approach him. Cut to the association headquarters where the two sat face to face. On the surface, it looked like a standard meeting, but the air in the room was thick with Chul-min's confusion. While they processed the paperwork, the leader's mind was racing, replaying every detail of their bizarre encounter at the gate. He remembered their first meeting, the casual handshake, and how Suho acted like clearing a gate was a minor errand. Suho had mentioned he was stopping by the association anyway, acting as if he were just visiting a convenience store. Chul-min initially assumed he was just a veteran hunter, coming in for a routine license renewal or update. But when he realized Suho was a complete rookie registering for the first time, he nearly lost his mind. How could a supposed healer solo an entire gate? The logic simply wasn't adding up for the seasoned official. Yet there was Suho chilling and munching on snacks, looking like he hadn't just rewritten the rules of the world. Chulman scanned the data for the 100th time. Statistically, Suho screamed frontline tank, not some backline healer. Cold hard facts. The kid possessed insane raw power killer instincts and a poker face that never cracked. Pure fighter energy. It made zero sense. As Chulman spiraled into deep thought, Suho suddenly broke the silence. Problem? Suho asked, snapping the leader back to reality. Chulman shook it off and dove into the standard interview. He grilled him on his history and education. That's when the pieces finally started clicking together. Turns out Suho was a college dropout. He was a physical education major before walking away from it all. Usually PE guys go full aggro, choosing warrior or archer paths if they jump into the hunter game. But Suho went rogue. He picked the healer class for one hilarious reason: he absolutely hates being in pain. He then laid out the chaos inside the gate, walking through the carnage step by step. His tone was icy and detached. He omitted one tiny detail: the entire dungeon was basically a cakewalk. He kept it humble, claiming survival mode. Then he casually dropped a bomb about hunting chief hobgoblins. Chulman froze. Red flag. Gates housing chief hobgoblins were never supposed to be just surviving territory. Noticing the tension, Suho didn't sweat it. He just calmly opened his digital inventory. Thud. He dumped a massive pile of dungeon loot straight onto the table, making the wood groan. Chulman's jaw hit the floor. His heart skipped a beat as pure, unadulterated shock washed over him. Scattered before him were high-grade mana crystals. The small ones, standard hobgoblin fodder. But that massive core, that was Chief Hobgoblin energy. And Suho, he had zero clue how much it was worth. He politely asked for help, processing them blissfully unaware. Chulman tried to keep his cool, but he was reeling. His eyes were glued to the mountain of loot. This was a god-tier haul. Taking a breath, he turned to Suho. "You really want this life?" he asked. Suho's firm nod sent a jolt of pure hype through Chulman's veins. Steadying his nerves, he asked if this was just some impulsive whim. Suho just flashed a calm, confident smile. "Not even close," he replied. Chulman was practically beaming with joy. Then the mood shifted. Suho's eyes grew serious as he shared the real why behind his choice. No clout, no cash. This was personal. He felt nothing but pure loathing for the gates and the monsters within. A gate shock had ripped his family away when he was just a kid, leaving him to rot in an orphanage alone. Initially, he believed that slaughtering these beasts would cauterize the deep, agonizing scars in his soul. But stacking bodies didn't help. The heavy knot in his chest refused to unravel, no matter the kill count. The pain was eternal, so he made a pact. He couldn't rewrite history, but he could forge a different future. He chose protection. He refused to let anyone else endure that hell. This wasn't a quest for revenge. It was for the people. He wanted to be on the front lines, saving lives. That's why he chose the association path. He wasn't aiming for a guild. He wanted the South Korean Hunter Association. Chulman was floored by his resolve. Still, a veteran's duty is to warn about the shadows. He gave Suho the brutal truth about the job. The association's paycheck was pocket change compared to the massive bags private guilds were dropping. Suho didn't flinch. As long as he had priority entry and unlimited access to the gates, he didn't care. Throw in the power to punish rogue hunters. That's all he needed. Chulman was absolutely stunned by this kid. See, the association has priority on paper, but they usually auction those rights off to the highest bidder. Why simple? No government official wants to risk their life for a mediocre salary while private guilds get rich. Everyone talks about helping, but they really just want a safe desk job where they can collect a check. Most avoid the gates like the plague, choosing admin roles over field duty. But Chulman saw something else in Suho. Suho wasn't chasing comfort. He was a rare breed, a true guardian who lived for the frontline battle. A real hero who believed in service. The joy hitting Chulman was almost too much to handle. He felt lightheaded for a second before snapping back to the mission those high-grade magic crystals. To get that official hunter license, you have to crush both the written and practical aptitude tests. Bad news, this year's registration window had already slammed shut. The big exam was tomorrow. But Suho had a secret weapon. Big brother Chulman was in his corner, ready to pull some strings. After Suho single-handedly cleared a whole gate, the association had all the leverage they needed to bend the rules. Securing a green light from the brass was easy, but one major hurdle still kept Chulman on edge. The written exam. For any ordinary person, passing that beast with just one day to study was practically a death sentence. But Suho, he's built different. In his world, when opportunity knocks, you don't just open the door, you kick it down. He seizes every chance regardless of the odds. The only catch, our guy was straight up broke. He couldn't even scrape together the registration fee. Swallowing his pride, he asked team leader Chulman for a massive favor. He needed the magic crystals liquidated immediately. Chulman, being the ultimate homie, stepped up and handled the hustle. Right now, Chulman was the only person Suho could truly lean on, and he felt a genuine wave of gratitude. Once the aptitude tests were finally in the bag, team leader Chulman came through with the results. He wired over the crystal cache and cut to Suho absolutely demolishing Chulman's private snack stash. Acting like he owned the place, those crystals netted him a cool 3 million won, a nice little bag. Plus, since he signed up as a civil servant hunter, he snagged some sweet tax breaks. But Suho wanted more. He had one last request: access to the association's library to cram for the written exam tomorrow. He asked politely, and Chulman, ever the supportive big brother, agreed with a warm smile. He personally escorted Suho to the archives, mentioning he wouldn't even need an ID badge to get inside. Before heading out, Chulman wished him luck. Suho watched him walk away, lost in a moment of quiet respect. His brother was a rare breed, reliable to the core. Suho could already see the man's future. One day, Chulman would definitely run this entire association. Alone now, Suho turned his focus to the shelves. His mission was simple: find a link to his past life. He remembered world-shaking disasters, but the details total blur. Human brains aren't wired to carry data across lifetimes, and he was no exception to the rule. But the key was here somewhere, a hidden fragment or a lost skill. After scouring the aisles, Suho stumbled upon something bizarre, a massive ancient tome that radiated an eerie primordial energy. It was too thick to even fit on a shelf. The second he pried that cover open, everything changed. The system flared up with a cryptic alert. This book, it wasn't even from this dimension. There was a secret way to activate it beyond just reading, and Suho knew exactly what that meant. Without a second thought, he hoisted the book over his head like an RPG character, triggering a hidden quest. He felt like a total meme for a second. Nothing happened, his arms were aching and frustration started to boil. He was dead certain this was the trigger. Just as he was about to curse the thing out, the system spoke. The Library of Memories was intrigued by his story. That's when the magic exploded. Reality warped. The dusty room vanished in a shimmer of light, and Suho was suddenly transported. He stood before a colossal ethereal tree. Its roots pierced glowing stone branches reaching into a fake glowing sky. A winding staircase spiraled into the unknown. Welcome to the legendary Library of Memories. This place grants a terrifying gift: total recall. Every sight and sound ever experienced is permanently etched into the mind, even the trauma. Usually the brain forgets to survive, but this ability turns memory into a flawless, heavy burden. The original owner of this cheat code was actually the manager of the Hexagon Guild. A former association staffer, she accidentally unlocked this power while pulling an all-nighter for a job hunt. She used a book as a pillow and woke up a genius. Suho couldn't help but laugh at her luck. He felt grateful she paved the way, even joking about treating her to a steak dinner one day. Suddenly, the system prompted Suho to donate his own life story to the library's collection. He weighed the potential. This was the ultimate tool to reconstruct his shattered past and fading recollections. Memories rot over time, but this skill, this is forever. He needed this power, no matter the cost. He needed absolute precision. A final notification flashed: story accepted. A gale force wind erupted as the system announced the library was now harvesting and recording his entire existence. Suho defied gravity, suspended in a storm of glowing text as a complex diagram burned into the air. The final message arrived: the Library of Memories was officially open for business. Every sensory detail, visuals, and audio gets archived instantly, providing on-demand recall and strategic insights. Examining his hand, Suho realizes the recording sensation feels surreal, likely due to this artificial realm. Being a mere mental construct, armed with this new ability, he tests its limits by reliving a past massacre. He witnesses his younger self broken and bleeding. Raw agony resurfaces, fueling a familiar scorching rage within his soul. In high-definition clarity, he identifies his betrayers, vile self-serving snakes he once called allies, cowards who stalled the gate's closure for their own survival. He vows they will pay for their treachery. Drifting through a sea of system interfaces, the haunting memory lingers. He regrets picking such a traumatic starting point. Suddenly, a system alert flashes, delivering news that shatters his expectations. He is granted a unique path to power, as the world's first human to reach transcendence. The system initiates a hard reboot for player on Suho. Stunned, he watches the world snap back into reality. A wild theory takes root. Did the system actually warp him back into his own past? He recalls his peak uniting with the divine sword and wielding the legendary double S rank skill. Yet now, as a transcendent, a brand new destiny unfolds, one that defies everything known about Hunter history. Suho realizes this second chance is no fluke. In a flash, he's already moving toward his target. Stepping out of a taxi, he stares at the horizon, contemplating the weight of this miraculous do-over. He can finally rewrite fate, stopping the looming catastrophes and taming the chaotic high-rank dungeons that once cost millions of lives. Vowing to blitz every gate, he knows every heartbeat is a precious resource. He arrives at the massive Nexus headquarters. Gazing up at the Titan, its scale is truly breathtaking. This is the nation's premier private hunter academy. To Suho, it's also his ticket to a massive fortune. With a predator's focus, he enters. A bubbly receptionist beams at him, inquiring about his business today. Suho demands an audience with director Kim Soo. Taken aback, she asks if he's on the schedule. He declines but insists it's urgent. His message, the solo conqueror of the pre-catastrophe syndrome station, is here. Moments later, in a sleek office, a poised woman introduces herself as Kim Soo, head of Nexus Academy. Suho introduces himself formally. With a curious gaze, Director Kim offers him a seat to talk business. She acknowledges his impossible feat at the syndrome gate before asking his objective. He calmly requests a full scholarship. The director is floored by his audacity. Suho doubles down, revealing he's taking the hunter licensing exam tomorrow. Still processing the bombshells, Kim Soo asks the critical question, how long since his awakening? Suho replies flatly, today. Her jaw drops as she frantically rechecks his files in total disbelief. A fresh awakened, wanting to test tomorrow after solo clearing a catastrophic rank gate. It's pure insanity. Suho nods, adding that a high-ranking association contact already greenlit his exam spot. His aim is simple, total domination at rank 1. His unwavering confidence leaves her speechless. He lays out his terms. If he takes the crown, he wants the elite Nexus scholarship and total funding. He knew being a nobody made his claim sound crazy, but Suho was far from a rookie. He was a war-torn veteran of 1,000 battles. Their belief didn't matter, only results did. Director Kim knew that a solo clear of a lethal gate was a miracle beyond words. However, she warned him that the hunter exam was a brutal filter with a sub 20% pass rate. Suho didn't flinch. If he failed to secure the top spot, the deal was dead, period. Intrigued by his grit, she asked why he chose Nexus over giants like Hexagon or Prime. Suho kept it real. Despite its size, Nexus was currently a sinking ship with 0 star power. It lacked a top-tier ace, causing its prestige to crumble. Internally, Director Kim couldn't deny the harsh reality. Nexus was starving for a win, and none of their current prospects looked like future S ranks. If Suho actually placed first, Nexus would skyrocket back to the top. His timing was dangerously perfect. Still, she wondered what fueled this mysterious man's absolute certainty. Probing further, she asked what level of funding he expected from this bold gamble. Suho countered by asking for the standard top student rewards, which she began to list out. A full tuition refund plus a 30 million won signing bonus. Add a direct ticket into the Nexus Guild. Suho nodded. Only fitting for the nation's top academy. Then with a smirk, he countered, 300 million would be better. Director Kim froze in shock. Suho didn't flinch. Being the top-ranked student had to come with serious perks, right? Given the academy's massive scale, the price was fair. It was basically chump change for Nexus. Deep down, Director Kim knew he was right. Reluctantly, she agreed secure first place and it's his. The jackpot was within reach. Suho began exploring the campus. The deeper he wandered, the more he realized this place was a beast, outscaling any amusement park. He'd want for nothing here. His guide beamed with pride, flexing that Nexus was the largest, baddest academy in all of Korea. Noticing the guide's exhausted face, Suho felt a pang of guilt. They'd clearly been dragged out of bed. He offered a quick thanks for the late-night tour. The guide smiled, honored to help a VIP. Suddenly, a lone figure training on the grounds caught his eye. Suho asked if he was a student. The guide nodded. That guy was a total grinder training at this hour every single night. Suho's interest piqued. Meet Daehan. The guide shouted out, telling him not to wreck his health. Daehan flashed a grin. As a third year, he had to push his limits harder than anyone else. Suho recognized him instantly. In his past life, they had tackled brutal raid missions together. Back then, Daehan was the nation's ultimate shield, a legendary tank with endurance that defied logic. It was a tragedy when pure tanks fell out of the meta. But seeing him now, Daehan was wielding an axe instead of a shield. He hadn't even touched his true potential yet. This was the perfect play. Mentor Daehan now, and recruit a future legend for his own association. After quick introductions, Suho cut to the chase, asking if the battle axe was his main. Daehan confirmed it. Suho pushed further. Why choose that specific weapon for the front lines? Daehan explained his instructors recommended it, claiming the axe perfectly matched his massive frame. The guide chimed in, boasting that few weapons could rival the axe's raw destructive power. Only trained with the axe? Suho asked. Daehan nodded, admitting he was a bit of a slow learner. Trying different weapons felt like a waste of time. It had already taken him 2 grueling years just to get decent with the blade, and even now he didn't feel like a master. Suho scanned him silently. Effort wasn't the issue here. The problem was something else entirely. The axe just didn't fit him. This wasn't a lack of dedication, it was a total lack of direction. He should have pivoted ages ago. Suho was shocked the top academy missed something so obvious. How could they overlook this? He suggested a complete shift in Daehan's combat mindset. Since stats eventually adjust, it made more sense to pick a weapon that felt like an extension of himself. Skills can bridge the gap, but true battlefield dominance comes from raw experience and instinct. For Daehan, the battle axe was a total mismatch. It hit hard, sure, but long cooldowns left him wide open. For someone his size, it made him an easy target. Dehan froze. 3 years of blood and sweat. Gone, Suho acknowledged the grind. But his real destiny was tanking. He advised Daehan to pick up a kite shield instead. Shield on the left, blunt weapon on the right. That was the path to true combat mastery. This switch would break his limits. Dehan hesitated, the weight of the choice pressing down. Changing roles right before the big exam was a massive gamble. The test was tomorrow. Suho asked him what truly forms the backbone of a raid. Most people would say the mage, but they're wrong, it's always the tank. A tank's job is to own the battlefield and protect everyone. To do that properly, you need a shield and a way to control the chaos. The logic finally clicked for Daehan. Fired up by the insight, he decided to take the leap. Suho smiled, glad doubt didn't win. He wished him luck as Daehan headed off to train. Then, Director Kim had ordered him to give Suho the VIP tour, but now suspicion was starting to itch at the man's mind. Was Suho secretly an instructor? His insane knowledge of combat and contracts screamed pro. Suho simply smirked and confirmed his status. Deep down, Suho knew a guy without a license acting like a seasoned veteran looked mad sus. He played it off as being a stakeholder. The man nodded, interrupted by a sudden vibration from his phone. The paperwork was set. Time to head back. Fast forward to the main event, the day of the hunter exam. The association building was swarming with rookies, blades drawn, and eyes gleaming with the hope of finally becoming licensed hunters. These guys had been grinding non-stop, honing their skills to reach their ultimate peak for this single moment. Talk about bad luck. Suho, the legend who solo cleared a gate, was feeling like absolute trash today. Stepping out of the exam hall, Suho began dissecting the real motive behind the test. It was a crackdown on doping, but to Suho, these basic security measures were practically useless. Real cheaters don't use pills, they use skill buffs. Suho spotted a woman and a few others radiating unnatural mana. Levels like that shouldn't exist for rank 5s. Suddenly, the system chimed in. Suho's magic perception was now on a whole different level. With magic detection fully maxed out, Suho could spot even the smallest ripple of foul play in the air. No official red flags yet, but Suho could see the truth. The room was crawling with buff-using frauds. Time to shut this circus down. Glancing at Chulman, Suho felt a wave of relief seeing at least one honest soul. Hearing the others gossip about the exam, Suho felt a twinge of guilt. His insane stats made him feel like a low-key cheater. Chulman approached, curious about the results. Suho was 100% sure he'd passed, but wondered why the big guy was there. Chulman shrugged, explaining the association was chronically understaffed, so he was pulling extra duty. Rumor was, this written exam was a total nightmare, making Suho's cool composure even more legendary. Suho confirmed he crushed it, then pivoted, asking if he could share a little observation. Chulman was all ears. Just don't ask for answers, Chulman joked. Suho turned serious, pointing out a massive security flaw. There were 0 checks for active buffs. Chulman looked puzzled. Buff checks. Suho explained that while the blood and urine tests were standard procedure, they caught drug users and gear cheats, but they were completely blind to those using high-level skill enhancements. Suho suggested that a simple magic detection sweep would expose the frauds instantly. Chulman took the hint, promising to tighten security before the practical portion kicked off. Suho headed off to prep, but Chulman stopped him, offering a rare, genuine word of encouragement for the next round. He was looking forward to having Suho as a colleague. With a nod of thanks, Suho headed toward the arena. 30 minutes later, the speakers crackled to life at the practical site. The exam was officially delayed. A 2-hour stall thanks to capsule issues. Everyone was told to hit the cafeteria or kill time in the lounge. Suho wasn't buying the technical difficulty excuse for a second. Something felt way too convenient. He had a hunch Brother Chulman was already hunting down the buff users behind the scenes. Just as expected, the man moved fast. Out of 1,200 candidates, only 10% usually made the cut. Weeding out the fakes would tank that pass rate to 7%, leaving only the truest elite standing. Suho scanned the crowd, looking for anyone with enough raw talent to actually be a threat. Suddenly, a loud confrontation broke the silence. A rowdy examinee was demanding a spar. The target snapped at him to back off, but the instigator just grinned, claiming it was all friendly practice. He taunted the man, saying he was just scared of being exposed as a fraud. Fed up, the victim shoved him back. The aggressor leveled a wooden blade, his voice dropping low. "What if I make the first move?" Before the blow landed, Suho's blade intercepted the strike with a sharp clack, forcing the attacker to recoil. The victim stared shocked. "Are you insane?" Suho just gave a cool look, telling him he'd take it from here. "Step back," Suho commanded. The man stammered, wondering if Suho was some undercover association official. "Just a fellow examinee," Suho replied. He warned that brawling with a loser like this would only trash his reputation. "Leave him to me," the attacker growled, demanding to know why Suho was sticking his nose in. Suho flashed a chilling smile, introducing himself as the man's new sparring partner. Since he wanted to fight so badly, Suho volunteered. The attacker just smirked. Sparring with a weakling like Suho was a waste. That insult stung. He claimed luck saved Suho, barking at him to leave before things got ugly. Suho flipped the script asking if he was scared. Triggered the man, snapped back. Suho challenged him to prove it was luck, taunting his obvious cowardice. Snapping at the bait, the man accepted, labeling Suho just another nameless loser. Suho agreed, but insisted on official approval and moving to a sanctioned arena. Once cleared, they stepped onto the floor, drawing every curious eye in the room. The official mandated association gear only delivering a final stern warning. Any lethal intent would end it instantly. Then the attacker lunged with explosive speed. Suho deflected the wooden blade effortlessly. Desperate, the man launched a downward strike. Suho slipped the attack like a ghost. Furious, the attacker vowed to rip him apart. Suho pinned the man's blade, mocking his pathetic strength. This was Park Yong. A notorious battle-crazed lunatic, Park Yong lived to crush anyone with talent. This hunger for dominance made him a monster. Suho remembered his formidable skills. Finding him here was a shock, but Suho knew this loose cannon needed stopping. Suho launched a lightning kick, sending Yong flying. As he crashed, Suho smirked. Dazed Yong gasped at his power. Suho chillily noted that blind aggression was useless. He teased that Yong had never tasted level 10 power before. Rising with a grin, Yong acknowledged Suho's composure and declared he was getting serious. Suho invited the chaos. Yong rained blows, yet Suho evaded everything with one hand. The pressure was rising. Suho felt the genuine killing intent behind each heavy strike. Yong bet everything on his dragon sword art. A blinding explosion consumed the arena. Confident in victory, Yong began to gloat, but Suho stood amidst the dust unharmed. He'd parried it perfectly. Shaking Yong demanded answers, but Suho called him pathetic. Truth was, Yong used a cheap imitation because he lacked a hunter's license. Mastering the true art without a license was impossible. Humiliated, Yong charged again. Suho danced around him effortlessly, baiting Yong into making a fatal, reckless mistake. As Yong roared a victory cry, Suho's fist connected instantly, turning his lights out. Yong collapsed in total confusion. Suho's voice remained cold, repeating he was too slow. Burning with silent rage, the fallen warrior could only whisper Suho's name. Observing the broken man, Suho knew he had become Yong's new dangerous obsession. With the loudmouth silenced, Suho hoped the hall would finally offer some peace. Meanwhile, the proctors were frozen in shock, breaking the heavy silence. Suho casually reported the accidental knockout, suggesting they call a medic for the loser. Next, Suho entered a high-tech chamber. Scanning the room, he sensed elite auras. Undercover inspectors lurked everywhere. As chatter increased, Suho's patience wore thin. He wanted total solitude. A staff member approached, gesturing for him to take a seat. They briefed him on failsafes, pointing out the emergency switch for the dive process. With a curt nod, Suho reclined as cables wired his mind into the system. A holographic interface flickered to life. The Hunter practical exam was officially online. As his mind merged, the sync rate skyrocketed toward 100%. Connection established. The brutal healer class trial was finally starting. Opening his eyes to a new realm, Suho felt the weight of the dungeon. This exam was notorious for failure. Before him lay a battlefield littered with dying. Victims screamed for mercy, while a young girl struggled against a massive boulder. Surveying the carnage, Suho internally roasted the Hunter Association for designing such a savage and ruthless scenario. This whole setup was pure psychological warfare. But first, let's break down the rules of this lethal exam. This trial is the Hunter exam's ultimate centerpiece, designed to judge if a candidate truly embodies their specific class. Scenarios and passing benchmarks shift annually, but the core usually involves high-stakes, brutal one-on-one combat. Others must survive endless waves of monsters where survival time and kill counts dictate their final ranking. However, for healers, it's a different game. Raw healing output isn't the only metric that matters here. Technique is fine, but sacrifice is king. Putting your life on the line for others earns the highest scores. As beasts closed in, Suho realized the dark truth in this script: the healer is destined to perish. He's supposed to die, shielding the patient. Problem was, Suho's actual stats were still very much active. Stalking toward the horde, he grabbed a discarded blade, knowing he'd need to take a massive beating today. But dying Suho wasn't feeling that logic. Why let himself get pummeled just to satisfy a grade? Dying once was already plenty for him. Nearby panicked candidates shrieked as monsters lunged from the shadows. Suho saw through the facade. Those screams were mere illusions. He was standing in a field of corpses. He reached a trembling girl, checking her status. Sobbing, she gasped that the monsters were coming back. She begged to run, but Suho knew the assignment. He had to shield her until the clock hit 0. Promising her safety until extraction arrived, he planted his feet. His resolve was absolute as he held the line. As combat loomed, reality shifted to the control room. Candidates were finally emerging from their simulation pods. One guy sighed, regretting his performance. A staffer thanked him, signaling his time in the test was over. Dismissed, he headed out while she moved to the next station, scanning the glowing monitors for data. It showed Kang Jin Young, an archer. He'd survived 9 minutes and 4 seconds, a respectable yet average run. She noted that this season's scores were trash. This difficulty level was literally bullying the rookies. Turning to Director Shin, she asked about Suho's timer. Shin's response, 30 minutes and counting. Her jaw dropped. 30 minutes, no way. She sprinted to Suho's pod to see the impossible numbers herself. The display didn't lie 30 minutes. Is this guy secretly a warrior class? She asked, completely baffled. Shin shook his head. Suho was a healer. She called Cap immediately, but Shin simply pointed toward the sword. Just watch him, Shin urged. They pulled up the live feed, witnessing Suho's combat prowess in high definition. A healer. Really, she muttered. His tactical skill was insane. She began to question the logic of it. Would he be DQ'd for surviving? Shin clarified, there's no official rule stating the healer must die. The goal was protecting the patient, period. She nodded, mesmerized, as Shin broke down Suho's perfect execution. Suho checked every box. He stayed close, never wavered, and kept his patient's health topped off throughout. He was truly gambling his life. As long as the mission parameters were met, he was legally untouchable. She sighed. It was obvious now. This exam's top spot was already claimed by a total monster. Inside, the Sim Suho was still cooking. With surgical precision, he was deleting monsters with one-shot lethality. Despite the carnage, he wasn't satisfied. He needed more speed. As reinforcements arrived, he methodically erased them. Clearing wave after wave with cold focus, he finally stood alone. Then a system notification flashed before him. Your footplay proficiency has reached its peak. Mastery unlocked. Suho scanned the text, a smirk forming. Even in a simulation, the real-world physics allowed the system to track and reward his insane body control. The system recognized his direct neural input, making it possible to grind physical skills even in virtuality. The XP might be lower than real combat, but as a training ground, this place was an absolute goldmine. Beyond raw swordplay, he'd refined his entire toolkit, boosting all basic techniques straight to A-rank status. No loot, no levels, but the progress was real, if he could push every skill to the limit. With all skills at A-rank, he could potentially evolve a legendary style like Park Yong's Dragon Sword technique. Ding achievement unlocked. Your mastery of the blade eclipses all known records. The system is stunned. Impressed by his unique flair, the system offered a rare choice. Would you like to register a custom skill? Merging basic arts with mastered footwork, Suho smiled. It was time. He christened his new style, Guardian Sword. When asked to confirm the official name, Suho nodded. Suddenly, a notification hailed his supreme mastery and announced the birth of a unique swordsmanship Guardian Sword. This legendary skill instantly surged his blade and footwork efficiency by 50%. As a reward for this insane feat, the system gifted him 10 bonus stats, urging him to continue walking the lonely path of the blade. One final alert confirmed he had unlocked S-rank sword mastery, a terrifying privilege granted only to those who truly understand the sword. Every restriction on blade techniques shattered instantly, boosting his lethality by another 50% and removing all limits. Suho's mind drifted to his past life. In that timeline, reaching this peak took over a decade, but here, his past life cheat codes had accelerated his growth exponentially. He realized his value was now skyrocketing. Refocusing on the exam, he noted the monster count was set in stone, and he couldn't help but admire the sheer effort put into crafting this trial. With every objective cleared, Suho faced a simple choice: be devoured by the horde, or erase them all. Meanwhile, the proctors watching the live feed were paralyzed in shock. They were witnessing the impossible. For the first time in history, a student had slaughtered every single monster. They were awestruck by his combat and his miracle healing. One examiner even joked that checking the rankings was pointless. The winner was obvious. Days later, Hexagon Guild was buzzing. Their scouts were cocky, certain their star student Kian would take the top spot. They bragged about the resources they'd poured into him until the congratulatory letter arrived. Kian wasn't number one. The name on the letter was Suho. The flex died instantly as silence fell. Confusion turned into tension as they looked for Kian just as the guildmaster's phone rang. Suho was already on a call with the team leader, who apologized for the delay swamped by work. But he made sure to praise Suho for seizing the highest score. He admitted that Suho's consistency was beyond anything he'd imagined. Suho stayed humble, crediting the leader, though the man deflected, insisting Suho's genius was his own. He also mentioned Suho's performance had accidentally flushed out a swarm of cheaters using illegal boosters. This would trigger a massive crackdown, which was a huge win for the association. Then, the leader's tone grew cautious. So, Suho, still interested? He was asking about the Great Hunter Association. Suho replied that while he might stay at the guild, his endgame remained the same. He was joining the association. The leader breathed a sigh of relief, promising to reach out when the recruitment cycle began. Suho ended the call with a smirk. The leader reminded him to eat well and stay healthy, a kindness Suho warmly returned. After hanging up, the man looked at his own hands and whispered a reminder to eat too. On Suho's end, he paused. Something about the leader's voice felt heavy. Off. Was everything okay? His thoughts were cut short as his phone buzzed again. He knew this ID immediately. He picked up and Kim Soo's voice flooded in, showering him with praise for his legendary results. She confirmed the bag was secured. His payment had already hit his account. Suho admired her efficiency. Nexus Guild really lived up to the hype. Then she dropped her offer. Join the Nexus Guild. She promised benefits that would make any other guild look like a joke. Suho asked, "How far will you go?" Kim Soo doubled down, promising to move mountains to meet the expectations of their star scholarship student. Contract terms were a non-issue. She even begged for a face-to-face meeting to lock him in today. But Suho played hard to get, mentioning he had personal business. He promised to check his schedule, but he left her with a tantalizing hint. Since he was already their scholarship student, Nexus was his logical choice. Kim Soo practically squealed. She was so hyped her whole office stared at her. "Please, don't sign with anyone else." Amused by her desperation, Suho chuckled and agreed to meet. As he hung up, he smiled, her thrilled voice still echoing. Just then, the taxi driver announced they had arrived. Suho nodded his thanks and stepped into the crisp air, reflecting on the day's absolute chaos. He'd crushed the test, secured his license, and bagged the payment. Phase 1 was officially complete. Destination Lighthouse General Market. It was time to grind, and Suho's eyes burned with quiet fire. Glancing at his phone, he realized just how fast he'd prepped for the upcoming carnage. Just one piece remained a weapon. He bypassed flashy stores for a dusty, tucked-away back-alley shop. Crowded retailers were just overpriced junk. He paused at the threshold, hoping this hidden spot held gold. The silence inside was heavy. Suho offered a brief greeting as the shopkeeper peered over his counter. "New hunter here. Looking for something light," Suho stated. The owner pointed him toward the bargain bin. The items were buried under years of grime. To most it was trash, but Suho knew better. Low-tier gear usually lacked data, but unverified didn't mean weak. Greatness is often buried under dust. Certain gems required liberation, a specialized process to tear away the seal and unleash their true potential. They hummed with a faint, ghostly aura. Most rookies would walk past, but Suho wasn't most rookies. He gripped a rusted spear and flared his magic detection. A smirk tugged at his lips. Bingo. As he walked out, Suho chuckled. If that shopkeeper knew what he'd sold, he'd have a heart attack. The deal of a lifetime was secured. Now, the real work began. Suho closed his eyes, focusing. He channeled mana into the cold steel. The spear drank greedily, sucking energy right from his veins. The drain was violent. Gasping, Suho hit the pavement, his vision swimming as his reserves hit zero. One more second, and he'd have blacked out. To fully awaken this beast, he needed more power. A magic stat of 100 was the key. A dormant monster for now, but soon lethal. He swore to grind until that power was his. Meanwhile, at PBS, Jinwei's phone began to vibrate. It was Suho. No preamble, just facts. He was the ace who'd demolished the recent Hunter exam. But that wasn't all. He admitted to being the shadow who soloed the Syndrome Station nightmare. Jinwei's jaw hit the floor. The room went silent as he processed that impossible solo clear. Clearing a gate without a license. Insane. In that moment, Suho shifted from newbie to absolute monster. "Why me?" Jinwei managed to ask. Suho's answer was simple. He'd been tracking Jinwei's personal blog. Suho knew the reporter was a rich kid, but he respected the hustle over the silver spoon. Suho dropped a bombshell. He was going to be the biggest headline, and he needed a witness. The offer was bold, become Suho's exclusive reporter. Jinwei narrowed his eyes, suspicious of the hunter's motives. Was this just a play for family influence? Jinwei pegged him as another rookie with a delusion. The guy seemed delusional. Despite the scoop potential, the idea of being a lapdog felt wrong. Jinwei craved the tea, but he didn't want a boss. Suho laughed. "I need a partner, not a servant." "Let's be real," Jinwei spat. "You're just clout chasing to up your price before some major guild call." Suho didn't deny it. "Partially true," he mused. "But I'm playing a much bigger game here. Clout was just the tool. His real objective, becoming a high-ranking civil servant. Fame was the ticket." Jinwei froze. The Hunter Association, who grinds to the top just to become a government suit. It sounded like a joke, but Suho was stone cold. Jinwoo eyed him suspiciously. Was Suho just another trust fund hunter treating this life-or-death work like a side quest? Suho dropped the bomb. He was a gate orphan. That tragedy fueled his obsession with conquering every dungeon in sight. Staring at his screen, Jinwoo wondered if Suho was capping. The world was crawling with weirdos lately. Honestly, it didn't even matter. He respected Suho's grind, but still wasn't buying what he was selling. Offer declined. Jinwoo handpicked his own stories. But Suho wasn't about to take no for an answer. He threw down a high-stakes wager. Intrigued, Jinwoo bit the bait, asking exactly what the deal was. Suho's play, prove his worth in blood. He'd raid the notorious Tower of Challenge completely solo. Jinwoo's jaw dropped. That tower was a literal death trap. Clearing it was deemed a mathematical impossibility. Full squads failed there, yet Suho wanted to solo it, pure insanity. But Suho was dead serious. "If I win, you're mine," Suho declared. His prize, Jinwoo, becoming his exclusive personal reporter for life. Suho remembered Jinwoo's past life glory, a legendary broadcaster known for his untouchable pride and elite status. Back then, he never took bribes. He and Suho had been the ultimate duo in that former timeline. Jinwoo's influence was massive, but his razor-sharp integrity made him a prime target for the corrupt elite. Politics eventually crushed him. Forced into retirement, the once great journalist vanished into the shadows of history. This time, Suho would change that fate. On the call, he laid out the ultimate high-stakes gamble. "Solo the tower, and you're my reporter." Stunned by the audacity, Jinwoo finally gave the green light. If Suho actually pulled off this miracle, Jinwoo vowed to back him with every ounce of his influence. The call ended. Showtime. But left alone, Jinwoo felt his blood boil with pure frantic irritation. Suho was living rent-free in his head. Where did this guy even come from? He was totally unhinged. Despite the annoyance, a spark of curiosity remained. There was something undeniably raw and real about Suho. He didn't give off scammer vibes. Caught in a whirlwind of doubt, Jinwoo muttered about losing his damn mind. He sighed, treating it like a low-risk bet. If Suho succeeded, epic. If not, life goes on. Cut to the Tower of Challenge. Suho stands before the massive gates, ready to face his destiny. He flashed his license. The gatekeeper's eyes widened. "Solo kid, you're basically asking for a funeral." Checking the ID, the guard saw he was a rookie. Find a team. Lower levels aren't a joke. One mistake meant a body bag. But Suho didn't blink. He was going in alone no matter what. The guard sighed, citing the 70,001 entry fee. Suho nodded calmly, prepared to pay the price for power. "Don't die out there," the man shouted. Suho didn't look back. He vanished into the cold, dark interior. This place was the ultimate training zone, a government facility for players stuck below level 20. For Suho, whose level had just reset, it was the perfect playground to reclaim his former godlike status. He shoved the heavy doors open. Immediately, the system pinged, confirming his entry into the deadly trials. "Withdrawal is an option," the voice echoed. One word would teleport him to safety. Suho wasn't running. Steel hissed as he unsheathed his blade. Suddenly, the first challenge triggered. A slime lunged from the shadows. The monster was massive and shockingly fast. Suho braced himself, surprised by the creature's explosive agility. It was only level 1, barely a threat, yet its twitchy, erratic movements were becoming a total nuisance. He couldn't let this trash slow him down. With a blur of motion, Suho's sword pierced its core. But the slime didn't die. It split. Its regenerative cells began bubbling into multiple smaller, hungry versions. This multiplying trait was a nightmare for rookies. They just kept coming, overwhelming anyone who lacked precision. That's why hunters brought squads. On these floors, the mobs never stopped swarming you. Suho didn't care. He became a whirlwind of death, leaping through the air and skewering slimes with surgical accuracy. A tentacle whipped toward his face. Suho snatched it midair, using the momentum to slingshot himself higher. He danced through the chaos, his blade carving through slime flesh, until nothing but silence remained. The system chimed, confirming his victory. Proceed to the next level. Suho didn't even hesitate. 48 floors left. His eyes blazed with lethal intent. He didn't have a second to waste. Level 2 began. Suho's mind raced, recalling the tower's secrets from his previous life. The real trial starts now. The peak of the tower once hit floor 48, but nowadays challengers are hitting a wall at floor 29. Both milestones were the result of massive squatting. Standard procedure involves entering in groups where difficulty scales with the party size. Larger parties mean your experience gains are totally nerfed, but it's the only safe way to survive the grind. Most pro hunters aiming for the leaderboard role in level 20 stacks. But Suho, he's built different. After clearing the 18th floor, Suho glares upward. He has no intention of following the basic meta. Without a second thought, he queues up for the 19th floor, triggering the next phase. Unlike the previous mob-filled levels, this stage is unique. A single colossal beast stands in his way. While it's a high-tier tank, slaying it solo is his golden ticket. The monster spawns, and Suho doesn't even blink. He blitzes straight into the kill zone. One lethal sword strike is all it takes. The system pings his victory and offers a shortcut straight to floor 20. Suho halts the climb to inspect the corpse. Something about this kill feels suspiciously off. While other mobs vanish into pixels, this one leaves behind a crimson gem, a blatant clue left by the tower. He loots the remains instantly, realizing this item is a key meant for a very specific lock. The item is useless alone, but his mana sense reveals a hidden subspace tethered to the red gate. This secret zone is the legendary stronghold of the fortress King Jongpyeong. This pocket dimension is special. Unlike item-spawned rooms, this fortress allows living souls to drift in and out with zero restrictions. Suho steps into what looks like a massive cavern. Suddenly, a glowing relic pulses as a system alert pops up. The previous lord is dead. The tower asks if he'll claim the throne. Suho grabs the light, accepting the crown. The relic fuses with his soul. The system confirms Suho is now the absolute master of this subspace domain. This isn't just loot anymore. It's a permanent skill etched into his DNA. The system then drops more intel. The fortress will evolve based on Suho's magical output. Suddenly, the entire space begins to warp and shift. The jagged cave transforms into a sleek, fully furnished suite. Suho is low-key impressed by the high-end upgrade. It's incredibly sophisticated, expanding with his mana, and tailoring every detail to his personal vibe. He's relieved that a snake like Zhongpyong lost this power. That man used this place as a dark warehouse. From contraband to kidnapped souls, the horrors committed here make Suho's blood boil with pure disgust. But with Suho in control, that darkness ends now. By dethroning the Fortress King, he's claimed a massive win. Gaining a legendary personal base fills him with resolve. With a sharp focus, he prepares to keep climbing. Meanwhile, Jin Woo is doom-scrolling through a viral article that's catching everyone's attention. He notices a massive wave of students flocking toward Nexus. Suho once talked about joining the association, but the news disagrees. Exclusive coverage suggests Nexus is confident they've already secured Suho. They're flexing hard in the headlines. Jin Woo feels a wave of doubt. He can't stop obsessing over just how many floors Suho has actually demolished. Suddenly, a system alert explodes. Floor 30 has been conquered. The global tower record has just been shattered. Someone is already breaching floor 31. The crowds go ghost silent, wondering if this is a glitch or a god-tier raid. The shock turns to pure hype when the system pings again. The 31st floor, cleared in the blink of an eye. It was over seconds after it started. Jin Woo stands frozen, his brain struggling to process this insane speedrun. If this is Suho, then he's a total beast. Jin Woo thought it was all luck and clout, but this is real. This cracked pace proves one thing. Suho is a rival he'll be chasing for a long, long time. Inside, the Hunter Association Director Kim is visibly rattled. She quickly scrambles to verify the live reports. Suho is literally breaking the internet. They need to drop a contract so legendary that he can't possibly refuse. Alert the president now, she commands, ordering her team to rally at headquarters immediately. Meanwhile, Suho's vertical climb through the tower is something the world has never witnessed before. This is once-in-a-generation talent. Suddenly, Chulman's phone vibrates. It's the vice president of the association. Curious, Chulman picks up. The vice president skips the small talk and demands to know his location. Hearing Chulman is near the tower, the VP jumps on it. Get Suho. Bring him to me now. Chulman lights up thinking he's been picked to recruit the kid, but the VP cold shuts him down instantly. He doesn't want a scout. He just wants a PR photo with the president. Chulman hangs up, feeling completely played. He cursed those greedy suits, the exact reason the public views the association as a cesspool of corruption. To him, they were useless. Only high-tier hunters deserve to lead. He glared at the massive tower ahead. He brainstormed ways to lure Suho back. Meanwhile, Suho had just obliterated the 48th floor, shattering the record. Bone-deep fatigue settled in. This relentless grind was soul-crushing, making him wonder if this insanity would ever end. But one glance at his status window changed everything. Reaching level 39 was the ultimate dopamine hit. Clearing floors granted him 5 bonus stat points each. Every single point felt like a literal godsend. Mastering the system's mechanics felt like crafting the ultimate RPG avatar, a lethal second version of himself. And honestly, it was a blast. With stats locked, Suho steeled himself as the 49th floor roared to life. A shimmering crystal materialized, spawning the ultimate nightmare, a level 49 tower dragon. Suho glared at the beast instantly, sensing its game-breaking power, despite its lack of pure blood lineage. Its dragonborn status alone made it a walking cheat code. Was this floor even designed to be beatable? But Suho had a mission. Zero hesitation. He gripped his blade, teeth gritted in pure raw determination. He lunged at the boss with everything closing the distance to engage the massive drake head-on. The dragon struck back, forcing Suho to vault into the sky. Mid-air, a crucial realization hit him. For such a behemoth, its speed was terrifying. Suddenly, a sinister dark aura bled from its jagged talons. A massive gravitational pull yanked Suho toward its gaping maw. Just before he became dragon food, Suho seized the dragon's jaw, swung over its massive skull, and brought his blade down with shattering force. The beast roared in fury, thrashing its head and hurling Suho away like a total ragdoll. Forced into a tactical retreat, Suho gasped for air while a grim realization began to settle in. His absolute best hit hadn't even scratched its scales. He'd done nothing but tick the monster off. The dragon pulverized the earth, tectonic cracks ripping through the floor. Suho scrambled behind a massive boulder. Thank God for those high stats. Without them, that shockwave would have turned him into paste instantly. He realized that despite its level, its innate dragon traits gave it an impossibly tanky, indestructible hide. Basic swings were useless. He had to hunt down its only true weakness, the reverse scale. Since it hadn't hit level 100, that scale was likely exposed. He scanned its massive armored frame. Suho pinpointed the vulnerability near its tail. Wasting zero time, he lunged and struck the iron-like scale. The dragon shrieked in agony. A system alert flashed. The tower dragon has entered a berserk rage. His blade was wedged deep into the scale. Suho knew this bloodbath was only just getting started. A war of attrition was suicide. He flooded his body with every ounce of power he had left. Driving the sword deeper, the dragon triggered its fear ability. Suho's entire body paralyzed on the spot. Trapped in a nightmare hallucination, the system confirmed the fear debuff. He desperately tried to cleanse it. But the system warned him this high-level fear was permanent. The dragon's tail swung to crush him. Suho ripped open his subspace portal and vanished. Inside, he slammed a purification potion, and it worked. As the visions faded, he breathed a sigh of relief. This domain was his ultimate untouchable safe house. He'd grabbed that potion on a whim at the market, never thinking he'd need it this soon. This raid was way more brutal than expected. Even with the fear gone, he had zero resistance. Standard heals were trash here. He'd have to keep jumping back and forth into his personal dimension. Burning through potions wasn't sustainable. He needed a galaxy brain play and scoured his inventory for options. He briefly considered summoning the Mad Pulverization Scholar, but then a new system notification caught his eye. He'd unlocked a secret combination formula. A mystical jar materialized, its massive potential instantly obvious to him. He tossed in 3 weird relics, the thief's socks, the minstrel's instrument, and the cleaner's broom. The fusion process ignited. Suho knew that items crafted with absolute formulas never ever failed. Success was guaranteed. Most trash loot actually held insane hidden value. The fusion reached its glowing climax. A legendary treasure was born, the Mumu Ring. Plus, Suho bagged 10 bonus stat points for the feat. Forging a world-first item meant one thing: this piece of gear was easily S rank or even higher. This was a legendary S-tier growth item. He donned the ring and the system instantly fused it to his soul. Suho recalled his past life, where he'd missed the Mumu relic because that crazed scholar snatched it first. This time, Suho claimed the prize, securing the massive stat boost and the extra points for himself. He accessed his menu and pumped 4 points into magic, hitting the triple-digit milestone. The system chimed. His magic stat flared crimson, a feat unheard of before level 50. He used to think purple was impossible, but now it felt within reach. Purple required 700 points, a massive climb, but he was ready. Confidence surged through him. After finalizing his stats, Suho summoned his familiar battle-worn spear. He began flooding the blade with mana. The weapon drank the power greedily until it hit the limit. Success. The system signaled the awakening. The mundane tool had evolved into the lethal Shadow Spear. The next phase was starting. This was a Shadow Lord relic forged from the bones of a prehistoric beast. It chose Suho as its master. Now he could pull it from his shadow and repair it with mana. Suho instantly grasped its worth, realizing it was as game-changing as the subspace fortress itself. A monarch once wielded this spear. If such a creature was in this gate, Suho held its signature weapon. He felt a wave of relief having secured the blade before any dangerous rivals could grab it. Time for a field test. He summoned the spear, marveling at how perfectly and conveniently it handled. Since he couldn't attack from the fortress, he had to time his strike while the dragon slumbered. He climbed a jagged cliff overlooking the beast and hurled the shadow spear toward the target. The spear tore through flesh, lodging in the dragon's tail. The beast shrieked in absolute agony. Suho leaped down as the system warned of the dragon's rage. It unleashed a paralyzing dragon fear. But Suho vanished into his subspace, ghosting the effects. His hit-and-run strategy was flawless. He struck repeatedly, retreating like a phantom. It took longer than planned, but he didn't blink. The scale's durability dropped below 10%. It wasn't shattered, but it was now uselessly weak. No more hiding. Suho ditched the stealth and went full aggro, bursting from the fortress. He propelled himself skyward and drove the shadow spear deep into the dragon's eye, shaking the earth. The impact threw him back, but the blinded beast was relentless. Suho waited for the perfect opening. He flanked the monster, rushing for the tail. The dragon roared, but Suho shattered the stone first. It was over. The reverse scale was toast, and the dragon's mana drained away. Suho downed a potion. He surged upward for the final blow. With one clean slash across the throat, the colossus fell dead. System alert. Suho cleared the 49th floor, setting a new tower record and earning bonus stats. Rewards flooded in as he collapsed on the ground. He had actually conquered the entire tower, a feat neither version of him had ever achieved. Reaching level 40 unlocked the healing spirit skill. This AoE heal could sustain an entire battlefield once mastered. But the evaluation wasn't finished. Given the difficulty, the system rewarded him with dragon blood. Suho froze. This was Yoma's signature power. Finally, the truth was out. This is where the monster player Yoma found his legendary strength. Inheriting this blood granted draconic power that scaled with how far the user pushed their limits. Suddenly, the shadow spear began to vibrate, reacting hungrily to the fallen dragon's massive shadow. It devoured the shadow entirely, triggering a second evolution into the Shadow Spear Plus. A hidden perk called Shadow Devour awakened a secret not even found in the original item lore. The weapon's consciousness flickered to life. Suho checked the stats and was absolutely floored. Both Shadow Binding and Regeneration hit S rank. Now he could literally tear a shadow from its owner. He could immobilize foes while Shadow Fangs shredded their spirit, causing massive bleed damage. Growth weapons were in a league of their own. As he prepared to leave, something caught his eye. A massive fang. This was a legendary Dragon's Fang capable of inflicting an incurable recovery debuff. Suho was stunned. He just secured a dragon byproduct, something thought to be impossible to find. This confirmed the Tower Dragon was a pure blood, the rarest kind that drops the ultimate materials. The spoils of war were absolute perfection. Hall secured, Suho finally prepared to exit. He knew Jinhui waited beyond the gate. Suddenly, the tower's core shattered into dust. The system echoed, Trial Tower conquered. The legendary victor was none other than Suho. Others were ruthlessly purged from the dungeon. A rift opened, spitting out battered hunters like trash. They hit the asphalt, souls shaken. One hunter collapsed, gripping his skull in pure shock. Impossible, he wheezed. A solo clear, his teammate still dazed on the ground, stared blankly. Who is this Suho? A shaking finger pointed ahead. Is that him? His partner nodded silently. That's the monster himself. Outside, a suffocating sea of people blocked every possible exit route. Reporters swarmed him like vultures. Blinding flashes and frantic questions filled the chaotic air. They begged for a scoop, but Suho was drained. The tower boss hit harder than expected. That dragon left scars. He craved silence and sleep, not this annoying, screaming media circus. This mob was overkill. Then he spotted Jin Hui perched coolly on his car's hood. The man looked absolutely floored. He probably thought Suho was a complete and total lunatic. A solo conquest was myth tier. Suho materialized behind him, dropping a hand on his trembling shoulder. Suho offered a casual, "Yo." Jin Hui shrieked, tumbling down as his jaw hit the floor. Recognition sparked. He stammered Suho's name, baffled at how he'd ghosted that massive media horde. With a smirk, Suho claimed he just walked out. Like some high-level S-rank stealth maneuver, he'd vanished into thin air. Suho reached out asking why the trust still hadn't kicked in. Jin Hui grabbed his hand warily. You realize you sound like a literal madman, right? Suho remained unfazed. If the trust wasn't there, he just needed Jin Hui to be honest. He'd pivot his plans. Jin Hui stood up cleaning his clothes. If I didn't trust you, I wouldn't be here. He barked at Suho to hide before the vultures spotted them. Then Chulman called. He praised the clear, wishing he could have thanked the hero in person. But Suho was a ghost. He thanked him, admitting he was just too drained for socialites. Chulman chuckled. Suho was always built different. Are you still lurking around Pangyo? He asked. Want to grab a drink? Suho mentioned his ride, then cut straight to the point. Chulman hesitated. Nothing urgent, unless you can swing by the association headquarters later today. If you're up for it. Suho narrowed his eyes. The association Chulman gave a firm yes. This was historical. That tower was deemed a suicide mission, a permanent fixture of their world. Now it's gone. They need an official debrief. Suho countered, questioning why guilds never get investigated. Big guilds clear gates and get medals. If you need data, just send a request. Simple as that. Silence followed. Chulman finally backed off, wishing him a peaceful night. Call ended. Suho leaned back, eyes cold. He knew exactly what the higher-ups were fishing for. The chairman wanted a trophy photo op. Chulman was cool, but the brass were just vultures. He wasn't their puppet. Getting tangled in their political red tape now would be a disaster. It was a trap. He'd ghost them until his official enlistment date finally arrived. Jin Hui stole a glance from the wheel. Mind if I ask something? Suho gave him a go. With your rank, why choose the government? Suho grinned. The state had the deepest pockets. Private guilds play hero, but the government holds the leash. Jin Hui stared in total surprise. But the famed Suho dismissed it. Popularity is just a flickering light, a temporary staged illusion. Guilds are idols today. Tomorrow, the public will look at them with nothing but pure terror. A heavy silence fell. To end this hellish gate crisis, Suho muttered, I need real backing. He couldn't carry the world alone, hence the association. A slow smile spread across Jin Hui's face. Your conviction is your greatest weapon, he noted. Suho gave a small nod of genuine thanks. He cast a quick mending spell on his arm. Then came the question, applying like a rookie. Standard recruitment, rotting in a rank 9 field spot, would be a criminal waste of Suho's talent. Suho shut that down. Jinhui guessed rank 7, but Suho aimed higher. He wanted level 5. Jinhui nearly lost it. Was he for real? Suho just sighed, told him to stop questioning his sanity. Jinhui's curiosity was piquing. Can you blame him? Suho smirked, ready to drop the bombshell. Strictly off the record, though, and keep your eyes on the road. The explanation finally began. Jinhui was floored. Suho's master plan was genius. The protagonist just gave a cool, calm nod. Keep it under wraps. No articles yet. He wanted to drop this bomb officially later on. When the time comes, the world will shake. And Jinhui, he'd get the ultimate exclusive scoop. Jinhui stared. Was Suho really trying to milk every last bit of clout from his reporter friend? Pure efficiency. If your bestie's a reporter, you use that leverage. It's just common sense. Jinhui laughed it off. Fine, use me. But wait, your info's leaked. Going home's a bad move. There's probably a literal mob camped outside your front door right now. What's the plan? Suho just flashed a casual grin. I'll just vanish. Same way I cleared that tower. Jinhui hesitated. Why not crash at my place? It's a massive estate and I live solo. Guest rooms are fire, and the security is top tier. Not even a ghost is getting inside. Suho actually considered it for a second. All right, spill. Where exactly is this fortress? Jinhui bragged. Kaiser Cheongdam. Suho's eyes widened. We're talking billion-dollar ultra-premium luxury living. They arrived, and for a split second, Suho actually froze. This wasn't just a home. It was the final boss of Silver Spoon housing. No flex needed, the vibe alone was screaming wealth. Quiet, luxury, at its peak. It doesn't beg for attention. It simply commands you to stare. Jinhui played it cool, told him to make himself home. Suho just nodded, processing the pay-to-win life. This is what happens when you're born with the premium DLC pack already installed. Must be nice. Jinhui pointed to a sleek device, a high-tech convenience pad sitting right on the table. One app to rule them all. Food shopping concierge, everything Suho needed was just a tap away. Even a private healer on speed dial. Jinhui noted Suho looked way more refreshed now. I am a healer, Suho reminded him. Jinhui blinked, stunned. Suho had to repeat himself, clearly annoyed. Yes, really. The reporter apologized. Even with the headlines, his brain just couldn't process the truth. Healers stay safe in guilds. They don't just solo clear the legendary Tower of Challenges. It's unheard of. Grabbing his gear, the rich kid headed back to the office. Duty calls at the company. He dropped the password and left. Suho waved him off, wishing him a safe grind back at work. Door closed. Silence. Suho finally summoned his system window. Time to spend those hard-earned tower points. He balanced his stamina perfectly, then dumped every remaining point straight into his sensitivity stat. This wasn't just an elite build anymore. This was the path of a successor. His stats absolutely cracked. Stats handled. Next task, security. Suho was a literal master at sniffing out hidden surveillance. With his buffed sensitivity, nothing could hide. If there was a bug, he'd find it instantly. He trusted Jinhui, but he wasn't naive. Rich kids' houses are rarely as clean as they look. Stay paranoid, stay alive. After a thorough sweep, Suho finally collapsed onto the plush sofa. He was gassed. This place was massive, bigger than most high-grade subspace homes he'd ever seen. Honestly, hunting for cameras was more exhausting than slaying that dragon. Finally, he could actually relax. But the peace was short-lived. His phone started blowing up with a non-stop flood of notifications. The leak was real. His private number was out in the wild and the messages were relentless. Time for a clean slate. New phone, new number. He remembered that community app Jinhui mentioned earlier. The app was shockingly smooth. He quickly migrated his essentials over to a fresh, secure device. This was the new private line. The old phone kept screaming, but he was already moving on. 5 p.m. He had a small window to recharge before the next phase of his plan began. That same night, a spectral portal flickered to life inside a silent skyscraper. Shadows stepped through. They surveyed the perimeter. 0 cameras, 0 witnesses. Then they reached for their gear. Expert hands began rigging explosives. But before the final wire was set, a presence emerged. Suho materialized behind them, looking as relaxed as a guy crashing a casual house party. Bombing public property is a bad look, he quipped. The intruders froze in total disbelief. This place was supposed to be a ghost town. Suho smirked. He knew exactly what they were planning. Chaos erupted. Fall back, one screamed, bolting for the gate. Suddenly, the girl in the group collapsed. Her team panicked, desperately trying to hoist her up. Move it, they yelled. She remained pinned down. Her feet were cemented to the floor. Little did they know, Suho's shadowbind had already triggered. Bound by obsidian energy, she couldn't move. Her squad leader realized something was horribly wrong. Leave me the girl, commanded coldly. Her leader hesitated, but she screamed for them to kill Suho. 3 terrorists lunged in a desperate frenzy, but they didn't even make it 3 feet. An invisible weight crushed them instantly. Suho's intimidation skill had completely paralyzed the entire squad. Banshee right, Suho asked. This wasn't just any group. They were legendary cold-blooded terrorists. Their past crimes were catastrophic. Despite being caught, once the trail of destruction they left was massive. Just 4 people caused all that, they gasped. Who are you? How do you know our name? Suho strolled closer, flipping off a cap. Kwak Duho, he noted. the muscle and heavy lifter. Then he pointed at Seo Kyawan, a middle school science teacher by day, master bomber by night. Next was Kim Hyunmin, the delivery man, their designated transporter, who slipped through every net. Finally, he faced the girl Koo Yoonhwa, the true mastermind behind Banshee's operations. A university student with a lethal EMP talent. She fried electronics and magic supports with ease. Yoonhwa trembled. How Suho's grin was icy. Nothing stays hidden forever if you look hard enough. She glared, refusing to accept the truth. Who the hell are you? She demanded again, voice shaking. Suho chuckled at her sharp intuition. You've already figured it out, haven't you? Still doubt me, he asked. I can always hand you over to the authorities right now. Realizing he held all the cards, she finally asked for his price. Suho just shrugged, dismissively. Pack up the bombs, he ordered. This isn't the place. We're talking at your hideout instead. She scanned him, wondering how deep his knowledge went. With a heavy sigh, she finally yielded. Suho looked at Hyunmin, ready to move. Open the door. We aren't exactly calling a taxi. At their secret base, Suho acted like he owned the place. Relax. Take the masks off. Yoonhwa scoffed, ripping hers off anyway. It's just stuffy in here, she lied, avoiding his gaze. She demanded the truth. How did you find us? What is your real angle here? Why would a famous gate conqueror waste time hunting down a small-time terrorist cell? Suho laughed. She was firing off questions faster than he could keep up with. He explained he used private skills powers the public knew nothing about to track their every move. They had their secrets, and he had his. Finally, Suho made his move, work for me. He brought up his recent PBS interview and the massive future plans he had teased there. The Hunter Association, she guessed. Suho nodded, cutting off her panic before it could spiral. He wasn't snitching. He planned to ace the level 5 exam and climb the ranks rapidly. His destination, the Special Forces. Yoonhwa looked horrified, but Suho just told her to stay calm. He knew they loathed that division. Their bombs proved it. But he shared that same burning hatred. Suho dropped the bombshell. He was a gate orphan. The disaster wasn't an accident, it was manufactured. Every cleared gate turned into gold for developers. It was all about premium real estate and greed. The government anticipated the shock and let people die for profit. It was a cold-blooded development project. Suho knew the culprits. His mission was clear, seize control and become the Special Forces head. Suho vowed to crush the ones responsible. After all, the Special Forces wielded absolute power within the association. They pulled government strings and hunted the hunters. He wasn't just offering bloodshed, he was offering legal, calculated vengeance. This wasn't some mindless rampage. Still, Yoonhwa doubted Suho could even clear the daunting level 5 trial. Suho just flashed a confident smirk, telling her to simply witness his rise. He dropped one final chilling ultimatum. One more slip, and he'd hand-deliver them to the feds. Suho walked away, knowing their world was shaken. Before Banshee was a ghost, an untouchable phantom who never cracked under pressure. They were just mirrors of himself, broken souls warped into monsters by grief. If only they'd had a mentor, maybe their lives wouldn't be in ruins. Suho aimed to pull them back before they fell into the abyss. It was only a matter of time before Yoonhwa folded. The bait he laid out was simply too irresistible. His god-tier skills spoke for themselves. He left them with a choice, think hard, or lose everything. Cut to the association HQ. The vice president was absolutely fuming while grilling team leader Yang Chulman. He scolded Yang for fumbling a basic mission. Apparently, even the president had nuked his schedule for Suho. Just to get FaceTime with the kid, this was his only warning. One more screw-up meant game over. Heads would roll. All Chulman could do was bow, swallowing his pride while accepting the cold reprimand. Kicked out and sent back to the grind, Yang finally let out a heavy soul-tired sigh. He'd been drowning in complaints for hours. For a split second, he actually dreamed of throwing in the towel. Why not just join a private guild? But then he remembered his original oath to the association. He'd survived hell. Enduring one more miserable moment was nothing compared to the past. He muttered a pep talk to himself. Right then, Pyo Song-yeol, the investigation chief, loomed over him. A hand dropped onto his shoulder. Just what Chulman needed, the one person he wanted to avoid. Masking his annoyance, he asked what brought the chief by. Pyo just gave him that trademark annoying grin. He'd heard his favorite leader was catching heat again. He even mocked Yang's saint-like patience. Dealing with the vice president's nagging was a feat. But Yang just shouldered the blame like a pro. As they strolled, Pyo pivoted. He brought up the spicy rumors about Suho stirring the pot. Chulman corrected him. Suho wasn't the problem, but the gossip was definitely spreading like wildfire. Pyo noted that only a few knew the truth, then casually offered a helping hand. Then came the wild idea: slap Suho with a fake charge and haul him in for interrogation. They'd just fix it later. Pyo argued it was all about optics and maintaining control. Summoning Suho would make the president happy. It would look like the association had everything handled. Suho would go free, and the association would look like absolute bosses. Plus, Pyo claimed, since Suho was joining anyway, it was a win-win situation. Yang just stared in disbelief. He warned Pio that his scheme was dangerous. Messing with a titan like Suho could trigger a disaster. Pio didn't blink. He mocked Yang's high horse, wondering why a top official was so terrified. Why fear one hunter? Yang stayed polite, but Pio doubled down. He reminded him that prosecutors still held the leash. They still had the power to indict. There was a reason hunters used to tremble at their names. He suggested Yang stop hugging the rulebook and get flexible. After a heavy silence, Yang gave a stiff nod. Pio vanished, leaving a parting shot that rules were meant to be bent. Alone at last, Yang replayed the chilling chat. He used to actually respect Pio. He seemed like the only real hunter in a room full of disconnected elite suits. But now Pio knew too much. That kind of knowledge made him a ticking time bomb. Drowning in unease, Yang found a quiet corner to think. His mind drifted back to Suho. Why did Suho pull away from the association so suddenly? It made sense, honestly. Major guilds were dangling insane perks that could sway anyone. But what was Suho's real endgame? Elsewhere, Suho hopped out of a cab. He reached down and activated his ring, the first Mumu. He remembered his past recklessness. But now, after conquering the Tower of Challenge, things were different. With his new powers fully calibrated, it was time to move. He set his sights on the ominous Soul Central Blood Center. Igniting his mana detection, Suho scanned the air until he caught the scent of a lingering magical residue. Dungeons always leave a footprint, and even the stealthiest ones leak energy. Tailing that spectral signal, he located a misty phantom gate hidden behind a veil of complex seals. To break inside, he drew his blade. Slicing his palm, he offered a crimson sacrifice, knowing this gate hungered for blood. As the seal drank its fill, the system pinged with a success notification. He discovered a secret dungeon pocketing 5 bonus stat points. Blood's Decree. Stepping into the abyss, Suho tossed a handful of luminous dust to pierce the oppressive gloom. The atmosphere felt like a suffocating tomb. He pushed deeper until a thick, viscous liquid splattered onto his forehead. Wiping it away, he realized it wasn't dampness, it was drool. Above him, a swarm of level 63 vampire bats waited. Suho just grinned at the welcoming party. With a sharp mental command, he unleashed his crushing intimidation skill. The pressure was instant. The swarm plummeted like stones, and Suho casually skewered the nearest beast with a shadow spear. The spear feasted on its darkness, wiping out the entire room in a heartbeat. He pulled up his menu, feeling a surge of confidence. His S-class aura made clearing these low-level mobs look like child's play. Raw levels meant nothing now. While most hunters specialized, Suho was hacking the system to build an ultimate all-rounder. Taking one last look at his terrifying stats, he questioned if he was being a bit too extra for some low-level bats. But then a notification caught his eye. Buried under the bat corpses was a blood slime that had been lurking in the shadows. It had been obliterated by the mere shockwave of his aura. Effortless, yet proof that his presence alone was a weapon. Powerful monsters might resist the fear, but the debuff still crippled their focus, provided they weren't cosmic-level threats. Finally, he reached the boss chamber, his blood beginning to boil with anticipation. He kicked the doors open. In a flash, he summoned his steel just as a massive shadow lunged from the ceiling. Metal met fang as he parried the great king vampire bat, answering with a lightning-fast riposte. Suddenly, a massive golem charged his flank, forcing Suho to pivot through a narrow gap. This was just the warm-up. Facing 2 mini-bosses at once, he danced between them, carving through stone and wing with rhythmic precision. As the golem swung a heavy fist, Suho glided backward and drove his blade deep into the earth. An explosive shockwave tore through the chamber, engulfing both monsters in a cloud of debris. But it wasn't over. As the dust settled, both titans remained standing. Suho realized that basic physical force wouldn't cut it here. It was time to reveal his trump card. The 2 monsters synchronized their next strike, pincer attacking from both sides. Suho summoned a second blade, and as the impact cleared, he had both enemies pinned by his steel. Even this wasn't enough to drop them permanently. But he had finally found the cheat code, pure silver infused with divine energy. At that very second, the system synced the holy enchantment. The silver blade, embedded in the bat, began to glow with a blinding light. A bolt of celestial lightning struck the monster, tearing through its throat and vaporizing it instantly. Suho stood over the smoking remains, crushing what was left under his boot, like a common pest. Divine power was a total game-changer. When the golem tried one last strike, Suho shredded it into rubble with a holy slash. Finally, the kill was confirmed. He checked his glowing weapon, marveling at the sheer destructive potential. Taking a support-class holy buff and applying it to high-tier combat was an absolute broken combo. Every strike with the blessed silver was now a guaranteed critical hit, perfectly countering the dungeon's inhabitants. Just as he relaxed, a chilling aura locked onto his spine. He turned slowly, sensing a far deadlier presence. The true master of the hidden gate had stepped out of the darkness, radiating pure, unadulterated malice. This was the Cursed Prince, a level 76 elite. He roared in fury, accusing Suho of trespassing in his royal tomb. He demanded Suho crawl on his knees and beg for death, but Suho wasn't there to bow, he was there to hunt. That smirk pushed the prince over the edge. With a deafening scream of rage, he unleashed a tide of dark energy. The initial blow was massive, but Suho caught it effortlessly, mocking the prince's pathetic, over-the-top dramatics. Furious, the cursed prince slammed his hands into the floor, preparing his most devastating attack. Total chaos erupted as a crimson haze swamped the field, blinding everyone instantly. This thick pressure killed all visibility. Suho steeled his nerves, expecting an ambush from any angle. Danger flared behind him. Suho spun, parrying the prince's lethal lunge with flawless precision. The stunned boss froze, baffled. Seizing the opening, Suho countered with a ruthless, decisive swing. That strike felt solid, yet the prince just laughed, mocking Suho's feeble attempts at damage. A system warning shrieked. Blood scream was active. Suho slammed his blade deep into the earth. Healing spirit ignited. A holy pulse exploded outward, forcing a visceral flinch from the cursed prince. His injuries evaporated instantly. Smirking, Suho dropped the bombshell. He was actually a healer. The royal gasped, staring at the gash on his gut. Suho's blow had actually connected. As Suho prepped his next move, the humiliated prince snapped, charging with absolute bloodthirsty rage. Suho charged back. Steel clashed against monstrous claws as the two traded high-speed, lethal blows. Feeling the momentum shift, the prince went all out, raining down a savage storm of attacks. Suho vanished, reappearing behind him for a brutal strike. The prince coughed up a spray of gore. The royal faltered. Suho pressed the advantage, but the desperate prince surged with even darker energy. They collided like twin meteors, sending violent shockwaves rippling through the entire arena. Suddenly, silence fell. The prince's head slid clean off his shoulders, rolling into the dirt. Suho sauntered over, looming above the decapitated head, while taunting the boss for such a mid-performance. Suddenly, the severed head lunged, sinking fangs into Suho's hand. The prince's spirit screamed for vengeance. Repulsed, Suho tore the head away like a filthy parasite, comparing the prince to a pesky mosquito. The system chimed kin conversion was starting. Suho's legs buckled and he hit the floor hard. His blood ran cold. Vertigo and a crushing migraine hit him, while a primal hunger tore at his throat. The prince gloated within Suho's psyche, but Suho just growled for the dead royal to shut up. Suho focused. To secure the vampire trait, his synchronization needed to hit a specific dangerous threshold. Once it hit 50%, he'd have to nuke the infection with holy water immediately. Just as he reached for the cure, the glass bottle suddenly shattered into useless shards. The prince mocked him. This was his domain now. Then Suho realized something was terribly wrong. The royal was smarter than he looked. The wrecked hall was restored, and the prince's body had vanished. Phase 2 had reset everything. Despite the odds, Suho's brain scrambled to find a winning strategy. Warning, his blood was corrupting fast. The smug prince declared there was no way out of this trap. Suho grinned, he still had one trump card left. Suddenly, the system interface flared to life. Every requirement for the second Dragon Blood tier was met. He had hit level 50 and survived. Facing total death, he unlocked it. A notification flashed, Dragon Armor available. Suho smirked, the trap actually helped. The conversion froze instantly. The system chimed, confirming all hidden conditions were officially cleared. Dragon Blood Stage 2 unlocked with Dragon Armor active. He gained Dragon Skin and the Legendary Endowment. As Dragon's Endowment kicked in, the vampiric corruption was walled off, and the purification process ignited. The tainted blood within him purified instantly, being absorbed back into his veins as raw power. The rot was incinerated. Utilizing the Dragon Blood, Suho successfully tamed the mysterious dark energy. He absorbed the vampire's strength, feeling his body grow lighter and more potent than ever before. He'd planned to grind for this power later, but it manifested here in the heat of battle. His new skill, Dragon's Endowment, was a regal trait unique only to those of pure dragon lineage. This noble power granted him total immunity against any form of dark infection or demonic corruption. It allowed him to devour corruption, turning poison into fuel to heal and evolve his body. The system hid the unlock requirements, but Yongma's teachings warned that near death was the true trigger. The system flagged the crisis as the catalyst. The endowment purified the rot while keeping the vampire's perks. A new sealed vampire skill appeared. Cold proof that he had teetered on the edge of becoming a monster. He questioned if he'd truly claimed it. His heart was set on acquiring those elite vampire traits. Yet draconic and vampire bloodlines were like oil and water. Still, the raw power gained was undeniable. He embraced it. A notification flashed, blood weapon. An elite skill reserved for vampire nobility alone. It demanded a river of blood. To feed this hunger, he'd have to slaughter countless monsters. He'd grind Phantom Shadow simultaneously. Suddenly, the cursed prince began his psychotic whispering once more. Suho snapped, telling him to zip it. The prince's incoherent rambling was getting on his last nerve. "How are you breathing after that bite?" he groaned, wallowing in his own pathetic uselessness. That was the signal. Phase 2 was live. The system chimed as the cursed king wailed in despair. Magic exploded. A crimson deluge fell from the sky, and from that gore, the king rose again. Level 80 attained. Radiating pure malice, he vowed to annihilate anyone who dared stand above him. Incinerate Crushrod in the abyss, he roared, unfurling massive blood-soaked wings. A bone-chilling shriek filled the air. Suho instantly felt a terrifying surge in the monster's mana. This wasn't the same beast it had evolved. The king lashed out with a wave of pure darkness. A thunderous blast rocked the room. But as the smoke dissipated, Suho had vanished into thin air. He materialized above the king's wing, delivering a lethal slash. The king didn't even flinch. Pathetic. You can't kill me like that. Suho realized the beast was gaining both brawn and brains. The king used his wing like a massive club, swatting Suho away with overwhelming physical force. Suho regained his footing, sensing the danger. The king didn't give him a second to breathe. He parried the onslaught head-on. Igniting his holy aura, Suho declared his divinity would crush the king's strength. But in a heartbeat, the cursed king's sheer power shattered Suho's blade into 1,000 pieces. Holy power is useless now, he jeered. Suho backed off, stunned that his buffed weapon broke like glass. Standard steel was garbage now. He summoned his bloody sword, making the king explode in a jealous rage. Give it to me, he roared, launching a savage strike. Suho countered by infusing the blade with divinity. He sliced through the king's attack like butter. The beast froze, unable to process the impossible counter. Suho cracked the code. Blood weapons scaled with his stats. And at his current level, this sword had hit red rank, plenty of power to end this. The king manifested a crimson spear. Vowing to shred Suho, he charged. But Suho morphed his blade into a massive blood-red shield. The spear bounced off. Suho smirked, telling the king he wasn't the only one who could shapeshift blood. In one fluid motion, the shield became a razor-sharp blade, decapitating the king in a clean stroke. The king's head bounced on the stone, his twisted face still wearing a mask of arrogant confidence. He mocked that losing his head meant nothing. Suho simply punted it and summoned a shadow spear. He slammed the spear down, and violent shadow chains instantly shackled the severed head to the floor. Shadowbind engaged. Suho knew he had to finish this freak before things got even messier. System Vampire blood activated. The life essence he'd drained began flooding into the blood jade. The king shrieked for Suho to back off, but Suho was busy inspecting the glowing blood jade. Up close, it was magnificent, brimming with stolen life. The Blood Monarch's records didn't lie. Only the owner could see it. Long ago, the monarch was just a healer at the Blood Institute. Then fate dragged him into a hidden gate. He faced the king, failed, and felt the fangs sink in. He began turning. Usually that's game over. The hunter becomes the monster, and the gate seals forever. But the monarch's healing magic defied the curse, neutralizing the conversion process through sheer willpower. New vampire skills rewrote his very soul. With this forbidden power, he finally slaughtered the cursed king. He emerged as the Blood Monarch, a global disaster and the most feared villain on the planet. Eventually, Suho hunted him down, prying out every secret about blood, weapons, and kin conversion. Even now, the king spat venom, swearing he'd have his revenge for this absolute humiliation. Try me, Suho challenged. Suddenly, the system flared. His phantom shadow was resonating with the king's. Devoured entirely. Not a speck remained. Suho realized Blood's decree was finally conquered. System alerts flashed. Hidden gate cleared. Suho MVP. A swirling exit portal materialized before him. Before stepping through, Suho paused. The sheer terrifying weight of dragon power replayed in his mind. Kin conversion was scary, but dragon blood, that was another level. Still, that vampire escaping really tilted him. Suddenly, the system buzzed. It scanned Suho's potential and birthed a skill meant only for him. 10 bonus stats were added instantly. The prize, a mysterious new skill called New Blood, never heard of it. Skimming the system logs, his jaw dropped. This wasn't just a reward, it was the ultimate endgame jackpot. Even wilder, he'd snagged an S-rank original vampire skill. Even the legendary Blood Monarch never touched this power. His old traits were mid-tier at best. No royal status. He deduced this evolution happened solely because of New Blood's broken effect. He'd planned to hunt meta skills, but this reality was way more cracked. Things were looking up, but he couldn't get cocky. In this world, overconfidence is the fastest way to die. Success isn't guaranteed forever. Mission accomplished, gate closed. Suho voiced his next move with icy determination. He had the loot. Now it was time to make waves at Nexus. The camera cuts to the towering Nexus headquarters. Staff bustled through the sleek corridors as Miss Sue marched toward the heavy executive doors. Inside, a man sat with predatory calm. The guild leader. He beckoned Sue to enter his office. She dropped the bombshell. Hunter, and Suho sent a message. He's showing up tomorrow to join their ranks. The leader froze. Suho, joining us. He couldn't believe his ears, his chair still facing the massive window. He finally spoke, his voice low. Prepare everything. He slowly spun around, revealing his intense, calculating face. "We don't know Suho's true endgame," he warned. "One wrong move, and the whole plan goes up in flames." Before a change of heart could strike, the cityscape loomed outside. Cut to a lush, high-end apartment. Suho walked in, scanning the fancy decor. He spotted Jinhui completely crashed out on the designer sofa. The guy was literally drooling. Suho sighed, asking why he chose the couch. The reporter woke up looking wrecked. He reminded Suho about the Tower of Test's conquest. For now, this weird roommate situation was their new reality. Plus, they were officially partners. Clutching a bottle, the young man cheered. A massive milestone like this needed booze. He'd come home to an empty house, but wouldn't let this historic win go uncelebrated. So he started the party solo. Suho watched, realizing how much the guy had actually handled today. "You've worked hard," Suho noted. "Get used to it. We'll celebrate a lot more from now on." Still hugging his bottle, the wasted reporter blinked, his vision definitely blurring. "You sure?" he slurred. Suho smirked. "Just watch. The future is going to be legendary." Surveying the spread on the table, Suho asked the tipsy reporter if he was down for another round. Jinhui beamed instantly, agreeing despite the late hour. A lonely wine glass sat waiting among the snacks. Suho mentioned that the community app Jinhui hyped up was actually solid. It worked like a charm. Between bites, he added that he really vibed with the apartment. It was top tier. Suho admitted he'd checked the reporter's blog. The guy was pulling numbers, leading Suho to think he was loaded. Pouring more wine, Jinhui laughed. Rich didn't even begin to describe his bank account. He was the youngest son of a Chibol family. He wasn't just wealthy, he was never work again wealthy. "A Chibol heir?" Suho asked, caught off guard. He took another long sip. Jinhui leaned in. "Since you've been real with me, I'll drop a secret of my own." He confessed his true identity, the youngest son of the Daisen Company's president. Suho assumed that made him the successor, but the reporter gave a bitter shake of his head. His father had kids with many women. His own mother, just a mistress. A side character in the family drama. He was an illegitimate son, a secret he'd never shared. But for a long-term partner like Suho, he'd be honest. Suho looked at him stunned. "So, journalism is just something you do for fun, a hobby." Partially, Jinhui shrugged. "But I actually love the grind. It makes me feel alive." His father gave him blank checks, but zero power or inheritance rights. In that family, he was a ghost. They even dangled a CEO role at a subsidiary in front of him, but he shot it down instantly. Admitting he was a top-tier reporter but totally clueless about business, Suho raised his glass again. He noted with a bright smile that Jinhui was at the very least a legendary journalist. The reporter felt honored, admitting he'd never encountered a hunter like Suho before. Both men finally stood. Jinhui suggested a toast for the duo. Suho agreed without hesitation, and their glasses clinked with a ring. The next morning, Suho stumbled through the apartment yawning. Over in the kitchen, Jinhui offered a cheerful greeting while pouring boiling water. Suho asked if he really worked weekends. Rubbing the sleep from his eyes by the window, the reporter replied that his schedule was currently overflowing. Suho joked they shouldn't have drunk so much, but Jinhui laughed, saying he felt perfectly fine. He'd actually had a blast. Suho then questioned why he was already out hunting for fresh material. The reporter answered that he couldn't ride Suho's coattails for the rest of his career. Hearing that, Suho casually admitted this grind was why he respected him, making Jinhui freeze in his tracks. Stunned by the unexpected praise, he took a sip and asked what Suho's plans were for today. Suho reminded him today was the big day mentioned earlier. Realizing it, Jinhui asked if he was heading to Nexus. Suho nodded, revealing he'd hit level 50 last night. It was finally time. Those words made Jinhui splash hot water on his hand in total shock. Suho was only level 40 yesterday. He stared in pure disbelief, demanding an explanation. For how someone jumps 10 levels in a single day. Suho just shrugged and clarified that actually, he was now level 51. The reporter stared at him like a riddle, muttering how mysterious he was. Suho smirked, commenting that his tone sounded strangely suggestive. As Jinhui awkwardly scratched his head, Suho asked why he was staring. Suddenly, the reporter shoved him toward the hallway, insisting that entering such a high-profile organization required a certain look. Suho protested, claiming his casual clothes were fine. But the reporter insisted on lending him a sharp suit and watch. When Suho kept resisting, he declared that clout mattered at Nexus and told him to pick any of his luxury cars. Arriving in a taxi would be a disaster. Soon a high-end district appeared as a sleek, crimson car screeched to a halt, grabbing everyone's attention. The door rose and Suho stepped out. Dressed in a tailored suit that fit perfectly, he cleared his throat, feeling like a total boss. A man in a suit approached politely, offering a card and introducing himself as Bae Dong-yuk, the head of Nexus. Suho smiled, introduced himself as An Suho, and entered the guild headquarters. Soon he was facing 3 Nexus representatives. Dong-yuk noted that over the past few days, Suho's level had spiked significantly, wondering if that progress had changed his ultimate goals, especially since he previously wanted to be a government official. Suho clarified that nothing had changed. His target remained the same. The leaders exchanged stunned looks, prompting Sue to ask for details. Dongyuk leaned forward, questioning why Suho would join a private guild if he wanted government service. Suho answered honestly, saying Nexus was the perfect shortcut to his goal. He then announced that he was taking the 5th rank exam this year. Someone asked if he just wanted bonus points. Suho confirmed it, but explained it was part of a larger strategy against the association. If he only had one option, they'd leverage him. He was joining Nexus because, once they saw competitors offering better deals, the association would improve theirs. He added that at Nexus, he would be a total asset to the guild, creating a win-win partnership. Dongyuk listened silently. As Suho vowed to give 100%, the guildmaster finally leaned back and understood. However, he had one final question. He pointed out that when Suho first approached, Nexus was struggling. Suho's skills were then a total mystery, making the hire a gamble, but now everyone wanted him. So why, out of every elite guild, did he only choose Nexus? Suho just gave a quiet smile. Suho's raw talent was undeniable, yet his hidden agenda remained a total mystery. Dongyuk locked his fingers, warning that without total transparency, this deal was dead. Suho took a breath, claiming his motives were deeply personal. He then pointed back to Dongyuk's own viral address, that legendary vow to use every Nexus resource to wipe every gate off the Korean map. Suho acknowledged. He knew Nexus outpaced every other guild in supporting victims, and harbored a burning obsession to close the portals. Those words felt real. Driven by that same fire, he chose to align himself with their cause, offering his absolute best to the guild. With a bold smirk, he proposed a long-term alliance, even for when he eventually moves to the association. Dongyuk nodded, finally won over by the logic. But he questioned if the association was truly the end goal, given how hard Nexus grinds to clear gates and protect hunters. Suho agreed, but dropped a truth bomb. To truly eradicate the gates they had to breach, restricted zones where no ordinary hunter dared tread, the lethal high-risk rifts locked down by the state. He stared at a photo of a chained portal far deadlier than any mid-tier dungeon. Then there were the 5 great gates. Government clearance was non-negotiable, but until he secured that power, every victory would link Nexus to his rising legend. This partnership would shatter the guild hierarchy in Korea, catapulting Nexus to the absolute top spot. Dongyuk leaned in, noting this golden age only lasted as long as Suho stayed on the roster. Suho agreed, promising to pour his soul into every raid. Right now, Sue's jaw dropped, demanding to know if he'd already scouted teammates since their last talk. Suho confirmed it, dropping the first name Kang Dae-han. Suye froze her brain, struggling to process the news. He nonchalantly admitted he'd talked Dae-han into being a tank. Suye exploded from her chair, fuming over what would happen if the role didn't fit. Suho just raised a hand telling her to chill out. He'd crunched the numbers and analyzed the potential. He reminded her that Dae-han hadn't just passed the exam, he'd crushed it. Suye's face soured as she recalled the rankings. Dae-han had pulled off a shock second-place finish. She'd actually wanted to thank the mastermind behind it, but Suho's casual shrug made her blood boil. The final Nexus rep chimed in, admitting Suho's pitch was top tier, but he needed one thing cleared up. Attempting to raid sealed gates was a massive gamble, since they're under heavy state lockdown. No private guild gets a pass when public safety is the ultimate priority. He questioned the entry plan. Suho just smirked, asking if they doubted him before moving to seal the deal. He promised to bring back proof of his clearance, then suddenly paused, rethinking the strategy. He flipped the script. Forget the pass, he'd solo a sealed gate first and only then would they sign. The secretary broke into a cold sweat, whispering that Suho was demanding terms fit for a king. Suho doubled down, calling the deal perfectly balanced. The secretary noted that while Suho was a total prodigy, he was still technically a rookie, with 0 official rank to his name. Suho countered, declaring he'd conquer a sealed gate instantly to silence the doubters. Donghyuk studied him with sharp, calculating eyes. Finally, he conceded that Suho's power was undeniable. With a smirk, the guildmaster admitted today's outcome exceeded his expectations. He promised to hammer out the specifics later. Once the gate was cleared, Suho ignited his engine and roared away. From the high-rise window, Donghyuk and his secretary watched the red blur vanish. The guildmaster's voice turned cold and commanding. Assemble an elite support team and prep every document for On Suho. The secretary froze, hesitant to move just yet. He questioned if they should wait for Suho to actually deliver. Donghyuk just let out a confident, knowing chuckle. Suho was a man of his word, and backing him now would forge an unbreakable, ironclad alliance for the future. Closing his eyes, he bet everything on Suho's integrity. The secretary feeling the weight of the guildmaster's conviction, pressed for how he could be so certain. Donghyuk laughed. It wasn't a guess. The answer was written in plain sight. The man finally bowed, haunted by the memory of Suho's unwavering gaze and that voice that brooked no argument. The scene cuts to the towering cold monolith of the Great Hunter Association of South Korea, reaching for the clouds. Inside a cramped office, young Chulman was having a total meltdown, burying his face in his hands before his monitor. He was losing sleep over how to recruit Suho, especially since the man treated the association like a plague. He toyed with the idea of a massive reward for clearing the test tower, a desperate bribe to get him in. But he killed the thought instantly. The greedy fossils in upper management would never sign off on a massive payout. They didn't want a hero. They wanted a puppet to pose next to the association president for a perfect PR stunt, a staged photo to fake an alliance. While Chulman loathed underhanded tactics, Chief Pai's dark suggestion began to echo, a threat to drag Suho in by his collar if necessary. Chulman groaned the pressure, feeling like a physical weight. He slammed his head onto the desk, cursing the day he chose this soul-sucking career over a peaceful life. As he spiraled into self-pity, his phone buzzed with an unknown caller ID. Exhausted, he swiped to answer with a sigh. Young Chulman speaking, he mumbled, wondering which annoying telemarketer or boss was bothering him now at this hour. But as the voice spoke, the color drained from his face. It was An Suho. Chulman shot up like a lightning bolt. His jaw hit the floor, heart racing in disbelief. The scene shifts to a humble, steam-filled gukbap joint tucked in an alley. They sat across from each other, steam rising between them. Suho looked around, nostalgia flickering briefly in his stoic eyes. He praised the restaurant's legendary boiled pork. Chulman stared, baffled that a high-ranker like him knew such a hidden gem. With a cool, effortless smile, Suho lied through his teeth about being a regular back when he worked nearby. Chulman bought it, nodding as he slurped his soup, admitting he never dreamed Suho would be the one to call. He asked about the sudden number change. Suho shrugged, explaining the swarm of annoying calls had forced him to go ghost. He'd switched to a private burner line, and now Chulman was on the inner circle. The official breathed a sigh of relief. He sympathized with the hellish burden of being a superstar. Lowering his head, his voice grew thick with genuine emotion. He thanked Suho for reaching out, confessing he thought he'd lost his only chance to ever bridge the gap between them. Suho just chuckled, picking up his chopsticks with a calm precision. Then he dropped a truth bomb that chilled the air. He asked if the big shots were breathing down his neck, demanding he lure Suho into the association's clutches. Caught red-handed, Chulman choked on his soup, his hand flying to his face to hide his sheer visible panic. He stuttered, asking how Suho could possibly know. Resting his chopsticks against his cheek, Suho laid out the logic. The president's sudden thirst for a meeting right after the tower clear was suspicious, way too desperate for a formal body. Normally, the association just shuffles papers and stays out of the way. This aggressive recruitment was a major red flag. Speechless and sweating, Chulman looked away, his nervous smile fading. Suho didn't stop exposing their true shallow motives. It was all about the clout and the photo ops. Seeing Chulman's fear, Suho softened his tone, offering a rare olive branch. He wished they'd just been honest after all. A little PR isn't a crime. Chulman bowed his head in a deep apology. Suho waved it away like it was nothing. He'd already seen through the game, and surprisingly, he felt a spark of gratitude. The civil servant pointed at himself, his brain short-circuiting at the unexpected kindness. Suho leaned in, clarifying his stance. Most suits would have resorted to blackmail or brute force, but Chulman had kept things clean and professional throughout. Rubbing his neck, turning beet red from the praise, Chulman still felt guilty. Then Suho dropped the ultimate game-changer. He casually announced he'd decided to pay the association a visit. Chulman froze, eyes popping as he gasped, "Are you serious?" Repaying Chulman was the plan, but meeting the association's big shots, that was the ultimate strategic power move. Chulman gave a slow, knowing nod. When Suho pressed for a timeline, Chulman suggested they map out the details. They'd talk shop after the meal. But mid-sentence, a realization hit Chulman like a truck, and he bolted from his chair. His eyes were literally glowing with hype. Fueled by sudden fire, he vowed to lock in that meeting immediately. Moments later, the pair rolled up to the massive Korean Hunters Association HQ. Suho paused, striking a pose for the cameras. Standing tall beside the organization's leader, Young Kyung-won Suho, felt the tension. The president beamed, welcoming his new star. "A man of your talent must be swamped. Thanks for coming," Jung chirped. Right on cue, Vice President Park Hyuman joined in. He chimed in, claiming it wasn't every day they got to witness such a legendary rookie in the flesh. Suho played it cool with a polite smile, calling the meeting a huge honor. But behind that mask, pure venom. Seeing these snakes again made his stomach turn. The years hadn't faded his disgust, it only made it more intense. Jung Kyung-won narrowed his eyes, testing the waters. "So you're really planning to join our ranks, Suho?" "It's my one and only dream," Suho lied, echoing his interview script. The president leaned in, fishing for a motive. Casting his gaze down, Suho played the orphan card, blaming a gate outbreak for his tragic past. He claimed he wanted to wipe portals off the map to save humanity. In reality, that was only half the story. His true mission, to stop these corrupt leeches from rotting the association from the inside out. Jung Kyung-won cheered for Suho's noble heart. Suho just watched, knowing this man would cling to power until his last breath. He couldn't wait to see the look on that old pig's face when he was finally dragged off his throne. And when the hammer dropped, Kyung-won wouldn't be the only parasite getting purged from this infested nest. Park Hyuman cut back in praising Suho's charisma. Folding his arms, he eyed the young hunter with calculated interest. He claimed Suho's lack of greed was respectable, a hero who only cared about the people. Total cap, but it sounded good. Pressing his fingertips together, the vice president acted all solemn. "You've grown into such a noble warrior," he cooed. "Your parents would be so proud." Suho bowed politely while mentally labeling Jung Kyung-won, the real puppet master. This whole recruitment stunt had the president's fingerprints all over it. To Suho, they were just pathetic bootlickers. They existed only to polish the president's shoes. In his past life, these fools let the world burn. He wasn't giving them a second chance to ruin everything. So Park asked, "Which department has your heart?" Suho rubbed his chin, acting like he was weighing his options carefully. He'd already analyzed every single sector. "The Gate Department," Suho declared. Chulman froze in pure shock as the vice president's jaw nearly hit the floor. Suho explained that while guilds chased profit, the association controlled the front lines. That's where the real action started. Raids and first dibs, that was the goal. Jung Kyung-won acted floored by Suho's seemingly selfless ambition. "You've chosen the most suicidal department in the entire building," the president noted, a dark spark in his eyes. Park Hyuman nodded. "A true hero's choice." Jung then turned to Chulman, his voice turning cold and demanding. "Show him how serious we are," Jung ordered. Confused, Suho blinked. "Sincerity? What are we talking about exactly?" If Suho was so hyped to close portals, they'd give him his pick of the association's most special available gates. Chulman nearly choked. Those weren't just gates, they were sealed death traps that no sane hunter would ever touch. They were absolute graveyards. But before Chulman could protest, Suho beamed. "Sounds like the perfect challenge." Chulman tried to talk sense into him, but Suho just clenched his fist, fire blazing in his eyes. "I'll crush the gates that threaten humanity most," Suho declared. Jung's smirk widened, the trap was set perfectly. "Exactly what I expected," Jung cheered. Chulman tried to intervene, but the president's icy glare shut him down instantly. Feeling the heat, Chulman lowered his head. "Fine. I'll have the files ready immediately," he whispered, defeated. "Get ready for the front lines," Suho Jung commanded. Suho thanked him smoothly, while Chulman stared at the floor in despair. To these unawakened suits, suicidal missions were just games. Chulman loathed these desk jockeys who never risked their own necks. They had no clue. Thousands of hunters had already been swallowed whole by those forbidden portals. They were basically signing Suho's death warrant. Chulman's jaw tightened, his blood boiling with helpless frustration. But Suho just stood there with a calm smile. He knew exactly what horrors were waiting behind those seals. Park whispered something into the president's ear. Suho watched them, smelling nothing but the foul stench of greed. To him, hunters were expendable assets. As long as the raid succeeded and association power surged, blood was fine. Mortality meant nothing to him. Shifting his gaze to Suho, Kyung-hoon probed about his rank goals for the exam. A confident smirk played on Suho's lips. He declared his intent to crush the level 5 test by year's end. Kyung-hoon's eyebrows shot up. Did he realize the hellish difficulty Suho calmly countered that reaching such heights would unlock elite opportunities? He'd grind experience in a guild meanwhile. Kyung-won chimed in with approval. He praised the strategy, noting that battle-hardened rookies were top tier. Then he pivoted to the contract logistics. He questioned the typical duration of guild contracts. Suho shrugged. He prioritized raw field experience over contract length. If a guild met his demands, he'd stay until exam day. Back at the association, Kyung-hoon let out a yawn. He voiced a lazy hope for Suho's success. Suho hid a smile, thinking that if the president agreed to terms, then Nexus was finally within reach. He sensed a bridge forming between Nexus and the association at last. Suddenly, the doors swung open as an aide announced Bai Yonggyu's arrival. Instantly, Suho's expression turned to stone. Pai strode in with swagger, teasing that the bosses were hiding delicious snacks. Then he stopped dead. Spotting Suho, a predatory grin stretched across his face. He made a polite show of turning to leave, but Kyung-hoon waved him in, introducing Suho as the legendary hunter who conquered the test tower. Pai's eyes narrowed as he searched his memory, then he snapped his fingers. "Incredible," he laughed, thrilled to meet. Offering a handshake, he introduced himself as the special department chief. Suho gripped back, identifying himself as An Suho. They traded professional pleasantries, but Suho's eyes remained sharp as glass. Once settled, Chulman spoke up. He dropped the bombshell. Suho was gunning for the level 5 rank. Pai's eyes widened in sheer shock, saying it was nearly impossible. Suho just shrugged. He was going for it anyway. Pai stood there, stunned. An executive chimed in, revealing the association's plan to grant Suho access to the dreaded sealed gates. Since the kid claimed he could clear them, Pai's jaw dropped. He began muttering incoherently to himself. Shielding his face in shock, he shot Suho a worried glance. He asked if the kid was truly serious, because those gates were literal death traps. Suho watched Pai's visible anxiety, finding the reaction oddly entertaining. He confirmed he knew the risks perfectly. Still shaken, Pai crossed his arms, admitting he couldn't stop the madness. Even if he wanted to, but he genuinely prayed for Suho's survival. Suho realized then that Pai was a hunter, a man who respected raw talent above all else. His expression showed real concern, not for his own sake, but for the possibility of a promising spark being snuffed out. Then Pai made a surprise move. He offered Suho a spot in his special department, promising personal mentorship. Chulman immediately intervened, warning him to stop poaching. Suho had already chosen the gate department. Pai looked confused. Chulman explained Suho's goal to eradicate all gates and claim priority access. Pai nodded, the pieces finally clicking. If that was the only requirement, his department could match the support. Turning his head with a smirk, he dared Chulman to deny it. Defeated Chulman could only nod, hands planted firmly on his hips. Pai teased that a level 5 Suho would make Chulman's life very awkward. The power dynamic was about to flip. Facing the rookie, he said they'd talk logistics later. For now, he offered his sincere best wishes for success. Suho thanked him though, mentally labeling Pai a sly fox. He then cut a quiet glance toward Chulman. He knew that passing the exam meant he'd officially outrank his mentor. That reality would be a total vibe killer for Chulman. Suho breathed a quiet sigh. This was exactly why things felt so tense and complicated between them now. He hated the idea of making Chulman feel small or pushed aside. The meeting wrapped and they exited together. Chulman walked with his head down, the weight of worry slouching his shoulders. Suho finally broke the silence, asking if Pai's words were getting to him. Chulman confessed that they were. He knew Suho's genius. But even so, sealed gates were on a whole different level of nightmare. His voice turned grave and serious. He begged Suho to be careful, offering to pull strings with the president for extra association backup. Suho felt a wave of real gratitude moved by the man's unshakable loyalty and genuine concern. This wasn't just politeness. Chulman meant every word. He reminded Suho he was still technically a greenhorn, and warned him again that sealed gates were monsters compared to the usual trash. Then he paused. Suho kept his cool, fully aware why the government only trusted the association for these high-stakes missions. Even elite guilds were barred from these sealed zones due to strict national security protocols. Stopping dead in his tracks, Chulman shot him a bewildered look, questioning why he'd risk it. Suho's response was short. He radiated pure confidence, assuring Chulman that everything was under control. With a cryptic smirk, Suho pointed out a specific gate within the association's restricted list. The name, Nameless Sword, left Suho's lips, causing Chulman to go pale with instant dread. That place was a death trap. Yet Suho didn't flinch. His grin only grew more intense. He claimed the solution was already in his head. Cut to the next morning, a military convoy sat amidst Gyeongju's ancient architecture. Right at the Nameless Sword Square, 2 armed guards blocked the path of Suho and Jinhui. They were told to stand by. Suho complied casually while the reporter trembled beside him. Jinhui whispered nervously about the suffocating tension, but Suho remained unfazed by the heavy atmosphere. He noted that while the association ran the gate, the military held the perimeter. Suddenly, something caught their eyes. After a crisp salute, an officer approached, demanding to know if he was truly the legendary Sung Suho. Once confirmed, the man introduced himself as Major Kim Jong-gu, the supreme commander of this sector. Suho offered a polite greeting. Major Kim signaled that the lead team was already positioned inside. Jinhui gestured toward the horizon, his voice shaking as he asked if they were heading straight in. The major nodded. As they drew closer, the sheer scale of the structure left the reporter breathless. It was a monster of a building. He muttered about the viral potential, while Major Kim explained the defenses. These massive walls were reinforced with special alloys built to crush any beast trying to escape. They also served to stabilize the portal. Jinhui stared in awe, admitting it was a total beast. The gate was gargantuan, revealing even more terrifying details the closer they walked toward the abyss. Suho noted the military's layered defenses. The group pushed forward until they finally reached Chulman. Major Kim announced Suho's arrival, prompting the official to break into a relieved, warm smile. Their eyes met, sharing a moment of mutual trust after the long journey to this wasteland. Chulman welcomed him, glad he made it. Suho countered, asking how long he'd been waiting there. The official played it off coolly, then shifted his gaze toward the stranger, trailing behind Suho. Before questions arose, the journalist beamed, introducing himself as PBS's own star reporter, Jo Jinhui. He offered a hand, looking for a scoop, but Chulman just looked utterly lost and confused. He wondered why a newsman was at a top-secret site. Suho jumped in to smooth things over. He promised cameras would stay off until the raid succeeded, seeking Chulman's final approval for the coverage. The official shrugged. It wasn't a black site, so he saw no reason to block the press. Still, he was floored that Suho brought his own hype man. Jinhui bowed in frantic gratitude. Bubbling with energy, the reporter told Chulman to get used to his face for future missions. Chulman sighed, agreeing. Then Major Kim stepped up, clutching a loaded M416 rifle. He confirmed Suho was the designated raid leader, and the young hunter gave a sharp nod. The major hesitated, clearing his throat before awkwardly asking for Suho's current power level. Suho calmly stated he was level 51. The major's jaw dropped before he quickly looked away. He muttered a stunned acknowledgement as they reached the towering reinforced steel entrance to the abyss. The inner sanctum was ready. Major Kim told Suho he could begin his descent immediately. A grim warning followed. Once he stepped through the gates would lock tight. Suho just smiled. A voice called out. Chulman ran up his eyes, searching Suho's for any sign of a strategy. Suho confirmed he had a plan. Major Kim watched, baffled by their casual tone in such a hellhole. Suho explained that words couldn't describe his method, but he'd crush this gate regardless of the risk. He'd clear it just like the Tower of Challenge, then reminded Chulman of their secret deal. He expected help with the other portals once this was over. The door groaned open. Chulman prayed for his return. Suho played it cool, promising that 60 minutes was all he needed. Chulman's eyes nearly popped out as he choked on the insane timeline. 1 hour, Suho just flashed a confident smirk, vowing they'd reunite soon. Then the heavy door clicked shut behind him. Jin Hui let out a long, tense breath. Suho was officially in the lion's den, closing his eyes. Chulman muttered that the waiting game had begun. Major Kim whispered, his voice laced with doubt, asking if this was actually okay. A nightmare like this couldn't be cleared by raw stats alone. He questioned if Suho was secretly packing some high-tier healing. Huey looked confused, prompting the major to double down. The reporter just grinned, revealing Suho was only a healer on paper. Major Kim's confusion deepened. Chulman raised a hand, admitting he'd never seen anyone in his life dance with a blade quite like Suho. The major's jaw dropped. Was he really that cracked? Chulman began spilling the tea. During the hunter trials, Suho was supposed to be a support healer, but he ended up shredding every monster with a sword. He slaughtered the beasts while flawlessly guarding his patient. Hui gripped his bagstrap, totally stunned by the revelation. He'd never heard this story, and wondered out loud if such a wild exam performance was even legal. Chulman confessed he'd been shook too, but Suho checked every box. Technically, he didn't break a single rule. Both the soldier and reporter stood frozen in disbelief. Major Kim realized Suho possessed a god-tier mastery of the blade. It finally clicked why Suho had chosen this specific hellish gate, turning his gaze toward the dungeon's heart. Chulman nodded. The major was spot on. Before Suho stood the legendary nameless sword portal, a solo entry zone restricted to one warrior. As he stepped in, jagged cliffs rose up, sealing him inside the arena. The system pinged, announcing his official entry. Blade in hand, Suho ventured into the woods, the air thick with tension. He scanned the horizon, thinking it had been ages since his last visit. The trail through the trees was eerily familiar. Memories of his past life flooded back, days when he'd barely survived this gate, crawling out by the skin of his teeth. Suddenly, a high-pitched ring echoed. A dark, flickering shadow began drifting between the ancient trees. Boss alert. A knight clad in weathered steel stepped forward, the nameless swordsman, a level unknown nightmare. He leveled his blade, and instantly, the atmosphere ignited with a blinding golden radiance. The system flashed a warning. The nameless swordsman had officially activated the battlefield. In this zone, the boss's stats would mirror the user's exactly. It was a fair fight, a pure test of skill. Magic was banned. Only swordplay was allowed. Suho just smiled, greeting the knight like an old, lethal rival. "Long time no see," he whispered. The knight lunged instantly, and their blades collided in a violent shower of sparks. Suho caught the strike and countered, but the knight's defense was ironclad. Shimmering white energy trailed their every move. The two warriors disengaged, breathing for a split second. Suho's eyes narrowed, dissecting his opponent's perfect footwork. The Sword Emperor's balance was flawless, nullifying any opening. The knight swung again, his form reaching the peak of perfection. Suho realized the truth in this current era. Absolutely nobody could defeat this monster in a pure duel. The Sword Emperor gripped his hilt with both hands. His style shifted mid-clash, becoming fluid and terrifyingly unpredictable. He swapped stances to catch Suho off guard, unleashing a barrage of legendary techniques. But that wasn't the worst part. Attacks rained down from impossible angles as the Emperor closed the gap with blinding speed and precision. Suho finally saw it. The most dangerous trait of this boss was how he evolved his tactics to counter any foe. He was a living combat engine. As the knight lunged, Suho dodged, realizing how terrifyingly cunning his opponent truly was. But that lethal cunning was exactly how Suho had mastered the blade in his previous life. With a knowing smirk, he braced for the knight's leaping assault. Suho spotted the tiny gap and slashed. The knight twisted midair, barely avoiding death. Still, Suho's steel left a jagged gouge across the ancient armor. "Did that surprise you?" Suho teased. The Emperor remained silent, exactly as the legends of the past life described. He was a silent reaper who wouldn't utter a word until his final breath. The knight reset blade held high. Suho struck again, drawing blood. He pushed the pace, revealing this was his 7th time dancing with this shadow. He went all out. The knight's counterblade whistled inches above Suho's head, a hair's breadth from a fatal blow. With a surgical slash, Suho lopped off a limb and followed up with a bone-shattering kick to the chest. The Sword Emperor spiraled back, crashing into the dense thicket. Suho stood tall, remembering the mysteries surrounding this man. For generations, people wondered what lived beneath that helm. Even missing a leg, the knight forced himself back up. Gripping his blade with a cold, steady hand, Suho whispered a chilling question, asking if the spirit knew the depth of his past disappointment. He revealed the truth behind the legends. Whether called the Nameless Swordsman or the Sword Emperor, his true identity was far simpler. "You're just a lingering shadow of the Sword Demon," Suho declared, as a spectral limb flickered where a leg had been severed. Ghostly steel clashed against reality in a violent symphony, their blades carving deep, jagged scars into the trembling earth. Suho parried a bone-crushing strike, his own weapon erupting, with crimson surges of raw energy as he launched a lethal counter. His blade tore through the enemy's chestplate like paper, and a second strike sent purple fractures webbing across the armor. The Phantom Emperor lunged back to regroup, but Suho vanished instantly, closing the gap with predatory speed. Eyes narrowed and sharp, Suho taunted his foe, revealing his entire combat style was forged specifically to dismantle the knight's every move. With a cold smirk, he delivered a crushing blow that sent shattered fragments of ancient armor exploding into the air. The dust settled with Suho standing over his broken foe, as the system announced the legendary Nameless Swordsman had finally fallen. The sealed gate flickered out of existence, with Suho crowned as the undisputed MVP, though a faint shadow of sorrow crossed his face. Looking down, he whispered a final goodbye, admitting that despite the blood spilled, he actually owed the spirit a debt of gratitude. Without this relentless nightmare to push him, he never would have ascended to the peak of swordsmanship mastery. Picking up a jagged shard of metal, Suho reflected that it was this very enemy who forced him to earn the title of Sword God. Dark energy swirled around him like a mourning shroud as he offered a prayer for peace, promising to honor his teacher every year. Level up alerts flooded his vision as the system showered him with massive experience points and permanent stat boosts. Blue windows stacked up, granting him additional skill points and 5 bonus attributes for his overwhelming victory. A lone sword remained where the ghost had vanished. Suho let out a heavy sigh, the weight of the battle finally lifting. He cursed his luck that a ghost lacked blood or a shadow, making his most lethal soul-eating skills completely useless. He claimed the fallen weapon anyway, his eyes widening as he realized the blade alone made this entire suicide mission worth it. His reflection danced on the steel, while the system identified the prize, the nameless blade of the Nameless Swordsman. Though only rank F, the sword began to vibrate violently before shattering into a cloud of glowing, floating shards. A new notification flashed: the Nameless Sword had been absorbed, triggering a divine breakthrough in his sword understanding. The very soul of the blade merged with his spirit, evolving his combat style and permanently altering the nature of his guardian sword. A golden window unveiled the new S+ rank guardian sword, an ideal technique perfected by An Suho through fundamental truth. It was a masterpiece of lethal balance, blending attack and evasion into one seamless flow after merging with the Phantom's soul. The technique's rank transcended its limits, devouring the sword's will to achieve a state of infinite, terrifying growth potential. Awe washed over Suho as he realized his ultimate sword style had finally been born. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the frantic spectators. Staring at the static monitors, Jinhui muttered that the silence was deafening, while Chulman stood by with bated breath. He admitted that even with his absolute faith in Suho, a dungeon of this magnitude was supposed to be a long, grueling war. It should take days, Chulman worried, but Jinhui snapped back, pointing out that barely 30 minutes had ticked by. Major Kim stepped forward with a grim face, requesting immediate permission to enter the zone and assess the situation himself. Just as he prepared to move, the reporter gasped, signaling him to halt. The Major froze, demanding to know what was happening. Sweat poured down the journalist's face as he pointed a shaking finger toward the portal, screaming for everyone to look at the screen. The rift tore open, and Suho stepped out casually. Jinhui's voice cracked as he shrieked that the impossible gate had been cleared. Squinting against the sudden sunlight, Suho blinked in confusion as voices began hailing him as a literal pro, out of nowhere. Jinhui and Chulman charged at him like kids chasing an ice cream truck, with the reporter waving his camera like a holy relic. It looked like a chaotic festival. Suho tried to tell them to relax, but the reporter's face was practically radiating pure electricity. "How can we be calm?" he bellowed, losing his mind over the fact that a sealed gate was conquered in under an hour. He screamed that it was total insanity. Chulman looked like he was having a heart attack from pure joy as he reminded the crowd. Suho had just butchered the Nameless Swordsman, the same monster that had slaughtered players in over 200 failed attempts. He frantically checked Suho for injuries, but the young hunter just chuckled casually, claiming the whole thing was actually pretty easy. The Major stood frozen in shock, his brain failing to process how a monster that killed hundreds could be described as easy. Noticing the officer's stunned silence, Suho realized the soldier was desperately trying to calculate just what kind of monster Suho really was. Pushing the tension aside, Chulman practically vibrated with hype, insisting they take a victory photo to immortalize this legendary moment. The major hesitated before the conquered gate, but Suho just smirked, dismissing it as mere paperwork. Relax, Suho shrugged. To everyone else, he was just another face in the ranks, nothing more. He dodged the cameras knowing a high-ranking officer's presence would lend the proof some serious street cred. Jong-gu finally caved. Flash. Next thing we know, that very photo is glowing on a sleek laptop screen. Facing the Nexus powerhouse, Suho dropped the bombshell. The legendary Nameless Swordsman had officially been taken down. The sealed gate victory was undeniable. The photo captured it all, featuring the association rep and Major Jong-gu. Suho gestured to the man beside him, introducing Jin Woo, the PBS reporter who'd witnessed the whole thing. To ensure the news remained unedited, they'd teamed up for the shot. Jin Woo politely offered his business card. Dong-yuk massaged his temples, claiming he was Suho's exclusive contact. He didn't need some flimsy business card. Deception was never his game. Towering over Suho, the guild leader's gaze sharpened as he prepared to grill him. How did you pull off the impossible? Suho played dumb, forcing Dong-yuk to demand the gritty step-by-step details. Permission for the gate, the lightning-fast clear. How was he even alive? The questions hit like rapid-fire bullets. That gate was a graveyard for 200 pro hunters. Yet Suho calmly detailed his meeting with the president. He got the green light, walked in, and slayed the beast. Dong-yuk stood there, his brain completely short-circuiting. As the leader tried to process the madness, Suho cut straight to the point. His skills were proven. Let's talk business. Suho held up 2 fingers, letting the guild leader decide the zeros on his paycheck. I have 2 non-negotiables. While I'm in Nexus, I want the royal treatment absolute 100% support. The moment he passes the hunter exam, he's a free agent. The association was already in on the deal. After clearing the gate, every top guild came knocking. But Suho only had eyes for the ultimate support system. Dong-yuk's gaze was razor-sharp and skeptical. A strange, unreadable expression flickered across his face as he calculated. Suddenly, he roared with laughter. It's a deal, he barked, summoning his secretary to bring the legal paperwork immediately. Excitement crackled in the air. The leader finally admitted it, this hero had actually lived up to the hype. Doubt was dead. They locked hands in a bone-crushing grip. But the guild leader's smile carried a heavy warning. Prepare for a workload from hell, the leader warned. Suho simply smirked. Bring it on. Later they hit the city traffic. Suho grinned from the driver's seat. Since you brought me here, the ride home is on me, pal. Jin Woo laughed. Just doing my duty as your manager? Suho raised an eyebrow. Manager, since when did that happen? You keep feeding me legendary exclusives, Jin Woo explained. I've got to pay you back for the scoops somehow. Plus, this sleek sedan is way smoother than that rattling old minivan I used to drive, he joked. He bought a whole car just for work. Suho was floored. It hit him all over again. This guy was the definition of born rich. Aren't you going to get flack for skipping work? Suho wondered aloud. Jinwoo beamed with pride. I've already dropped several exclusive bombs today. My boss won't say a word. Besides, he'd promised the higher-ups that he'd eventually bring the legendary Suho straight to the office. Suho knew it. This guy was a total shark. First, we leak the gate clear, Jinwoo plotted. We hype up the victory, then slow burn the news of you joining Nexus. Keep the fans hooked. Spacing it out would keep the hype train moving, even if public attention is usually a fickle thing. Whatever, Suho sighed, closing his eyes. Handle it however you want. I'm just here for the ride. Then Jinwoo's tone shifted. Seriously though, how did you read the Nameless Swordsman's lethal patterns? Predictable, Suho shrugged. I knew the Sword Emperor's legend. I knew exactly what was coming. He knew the rules of the duel. No magic, no gimmicks. Just cold, lethal steel. Call me arrogant, but I'm simply a better swordsman than that thing, Suho stated. Jinwoo's jaw dropped. Jinwoo white-knuckled the steering wheel as Suho spoke. Experience was everything, and his blade work was absolute. But that monster slaughtered 200 pros. It even butchered the nation's greatest swordmaster, Jinwoo protested. Don't you get the danger? Suho just smiled. The swordsman only mirrors your stats. It adapts to the challenger. Inside that gate, items and magic are worthless. It's a pure, brutal test of raw swordsmanship. Nothing else could sway the outcome. Jinwoo finally asked the big one, do you even have a swordsmanship skill? Suho confirmed the bombshell he'd bagged a rank S skill, though it was strangely missing from his status window. The car jerked violently as Jin Hui's head hit the steering wheel, his brain completely short-circuiting from the news. Stunned, he grilled Suho on the how and when behind acquiring such a legendary rank S swordsmanship ability. The reporter was practically vibrating with hype, forcing Suho to tell him to chill before he actually combusted. Suho warned that dropping too much tea at once is dangerous. Taking the hint, Jin Hui finally took a breath. He swore total loyalty, telling Suho he'd answer any question anytime, no secrets, kept purely instant facts. Easing off the gas, he confessed that Suho's talent for catching people off guard was genuinely on another level. He never imagined being someone's subordinate, but thanked Suho for reaching out to him first. Real, recognize real. When the reporter apologized for his early doubts, Suho just laughed it off. No grudges, just vibes as they arrived. Back at their high-end crib, Jin Hui pulled up and asked if they were officially clocking out for the night. Suho nodded, craving some downtime. The loyal reporter insisted on a personal escort home, and Suho gave a warm thanks. As night swallowed the city, Suho finally collapsed into the softness of his bed, letting out a long overdue sigh. Toweling off his hair, he felt a surge of pride. Today's gains were nothing short of legendary. Despite the grind, he felt zero fatigue. Tossing the towel aside, he summoned his holographic status window to life. With 7 bonus points sitting in his inventory, Suho realized the moment of truth had finally arrived. He was aiming for Unified Train, a skill with insane requirements. Every stat had to hit the exact same rank. It was a delicate balance, identical values across the board. Even a single leftover point could trigger a stat leveling chain reaction. The system would force the lowest stat upward to match the peak. Carefully, Suho began micromanaging his attributes. He held his breath as the system ran its final check. Then the notification flashed. All conditions successfully cleared. Unified Train officially went live. Suho watched mesmerized as his remaining points redistributed to achieve perfect equilibrium. His stats refreshed in a blaze of light. Every single characteristic had surged to red level rank 14. Seeing that perfect lineup, Suho pumped his fist. The grind had paid off. He'd finally achieved the impossible. In his previous life, this level of perfection was a total myth. He'd never even dared to dream this big. Staring at his god-tier stats, a massive smirk spread across his face as he flopped back onto the mattress. Just as he was planning his next power move, his phone buzzed. A familiar name flashed on the screen. Yeonhwa. It had been a minute. Still lying back, Suho answered, noting that her timing was actually perfect for his mood. He was feeling on top of the world, so hearing her voice now was a total win-win scenario. She didn't miss a beat, snarking that he must be bored out of his mind. Suho was just confused. He told her to drop the formal act. Yeonhwa revealed she'd seen the latest article, making Suho grin even wider. Impressed by the speed of the press, he admitted he hadn't read the comments and asked for the tea. She kept calling him sir, while demanding a face-to-face. Suho didn't budge, pushing her for a straight answer. She snapped back, reminding him they hadn't signed onto his deal yet. Suho calmly told her he wouldn't force them. That curveball left her speechless. As Suho pressed for a decision, Yeonhwa just closed her eyes in frustration. "What are we even supposed to do now?" she asked. Suho sat up, his voice turning dead serious. He promised to spill everything tomorrow, telling the whole crew to meet him at Nexus Academy at 1 p.m. She immediately caught an attitude, citing work and lectures as excuses. Suho's face instantly went cold with disappointment. He sighed, saying he'd clearly overhyped them. Apparently they cared more about useless nonsense than actual greatness. He had to pull the phone away as Yeonhwa absolutely lost it, screaming and cursing him out in a total rage. She barked that she'd be there at 1 p.m. sharp before slamming the phone down. Suho just smirked. Checkmate. The next day, at the massive Nexus Academy, Yeonhwa stood with arms crossed, acting like she didn't care. She claimed she was only there because she felt like skipping class, definitely not because he told her to. The squad gathered around Suho, who was chilling on a bench. He dryly noted that he never asked for her excuses. She huffed, totally irritated, and demanded to know why he'd summoned the whole team for this meeting. Suho stood up, his aura shifting. He looked them in the eye and dropped a bomb. "I'm going to kill you all today." As the banshees froze in terror, he handed them tablets. Yeonhwa glanced at the survey, asking if he was just data mining them. Raising his hand, Suho declared that joining the special department meant he'd need a crew of elite freelance agents. He wasn't looking for just anyone. He demanded true shadows. He warned them that his standards were impossibly high. Turning away, he promised their training would be a living hell, brutal, relentless, and designed to push them to total exhaustion. They'd master everything from lethal combat to peak skill optimization. In this space, their private data was for his eyes only. Absolute honesty was the price of entry. Since he'd already laid bare his own secrets, their bond had to be forged in ironclad trust. Now the ball was in their court. As the group traded nervous looks, the scene shifted to the Nexus Academy training hall. Flashing a black keycard, Suho smirked, signaling the start of the real game. He thought back to how he'd secured this prize. Miss Suye had explained that this legendary card unlocked every corner of the academy, granting him god-level clearance. It even opened the S-rank exclusive halls, keeping him off the radar. She'd also handed over guest passes for his new recruits. Looking at the card, Suho realized he'd been so buried in chaos that he'd nearly ghosted day one. He owed the man a meeting and vowed to fix that soon. Nearby, the Banshee members were already syncing with their training pods. Suho braced for the challenges ahead. Suddenly, reality warped and massive jagged cliffs materialized out of thin air. They had arrived at the Kunlun Mountains. Facing the squad, Suho welcomed them to their new home for the foreseeable future. Every spare second, they had belonged to this place. He scanned them, noting they were all pathetic sub-level 50 weaklings. That meant he could break them and rebuild them however he liked. When Yunho demanded a plan, Suho simply said, "Fundamentals." Without refining their combat basics, the special department would sniff them out and hunt them down in no time. He scoffed, asking if they really thought cheap parlor tricks would save them. Manhwa fired back, claiming their strategy was flawless. She insisted they were untouchable. Suho just crossed his arms and laughed, reminding her that he'd already caught them himself. In a world of gods and monsters, there's no such thing as a perfect crime. He told them that survival was the only goal. They needed to become a shield for themselves and each other. With a snap, a massive arsenal of weapons rained down. "Pick your poison," he commanded. Before anything else, they had to conquer their own paralyzing fear. As Yeonhwa grabbed a blade, she asked if there was more to his lesson. Suho smirked, asking if she knew his reputation. She whispered the name that struck fear into many the sword god. His hand erupted in a brilliant golden glow. He didn't deny it. Leaning on his steel, he told them they were standing in the presence of a true grandmaster, expecting him to teach anything, but the blade was sheer idiocy. To reach the top, they had to discard all other distractions. He wouldn't ban their other skills, but he warned they'd only become dead weight later. Then he gave a chilling order, "Kill me." He unsheathed his sword, declaring the hunt had officially begun. In a blur of motion, he vanished and lunged. Heads rolled instantly. He mocked the survivors, asking why they were still standing there like deer in headlights before finishing the rest. As the squad respawned, Suho chided them. Having tasted death once, they couldn't afford to freeze up like cowards again. This time, they snapped into defensive lines. Suho offered a rare bit of praise before pointing skyward. His next strike descended like a meteor. Bodies flew everywhere as he tore through their formation, mocking their every move. He told one recruit even his grandmother was faster, then delivered a brutal elbow to another's ribs. He joked that as a former delivery guy, he must have been fired because his customers starved to death waiting for him. The boy slammed into his comrade. Turning to the third, Suho questioned how a teacher could be so incredibly pathetic. If he couldn't even parry a basic strike, what could he possibly teach his students, except how to lose? The young man gasped that he wasn't trying to dodge. Suho scoffed, calling the excuse more pathetic than a schoolboy's lie. Their hands shook as they gripped their hilts. One cursed under his breath, wondering when this monster would finally shut up. They charged together. Suho noted their growing control. This fury would keep them alive when they stepped into real gates. An explosion rocked the ground. He reminded them they were becoming his shadows, not lackeys, but true lethal warriors. Pinning their blades down, he told them, "There's no shortcut to power. Strength only comes when you realize there's no turning back." The blood-soaked session pushed on without mercy. Only after what felt like an eternity did Suho finally call a halt. The Banshee members were mere heaps of exhaustion on the ground. Suho nodded, admitting their effort wasn't half bad. But he had other business to attend to. The group watched in pure horror as he delivered his parting words. The simulation wouldn't end until the timer hit 0. They were to keep fighting and dying until then. Yunho screamed in disbelief as he turned to leave. Suddenly, a digital clone of Suho shimmered into existence behind her. The mirror image mimicked his every move. Raising its blade, the clone spat insults, labeling everyone worthless trash. "Draw your weapons," it roared. Seething with rage, the Banshee squad hurled curses, branding Suho a total scumbag. Suho emerged from the capsule, eyeing the 4 trainees still grinding. Their session was finally over for today. His phone buzzed with Suye's voice. News of his high-profile Nexus Guild recruitment was already blowing up online. She verified the leak. When Suho asked about Jo Jinwei, she confirmed it was his latest exclusive bombshell report. PR was ready to drop more intel. Staring outside, Suho smirked. It was time to prepare the next viral story. Suye wavered, fearing it was premature. Suho knew better. The public backlash was going to be absolutely brutal. After preaching about government service, ditching them for a private guild looked like a total sellout move. Hate was inevitable. Yet Suye felt confident that sticking to the script would flip the narrative in no time. Suho kept one card hidden. His year-end rank 5 exam remained a secret from the prying eyes of the world. That secret wouldn't last. Promising a full explanation later, he ended the call to dial his next contact. He rang Jinwei, who was busy typing away. The reporter answered with a grin, eager for the next scoop. With the Nexus news setting the internet on fire, Suho pitched an even bigger story to the excited journalist. This leak would detail his next mission, conquering another sealed gate. Suho's grin was cold and calculated. His target, the dreaded Swamp of Despair. Headlines instantly flooded the web, announcing Suho's insane new objective to everyone. News broke the nameless sword gate was cleared. The entire gaming community went into an absolute state of shock. Fans were losing it. How did he jump from the Tower of Trials to a sealed gate so fast? "Is he the new Sword King?" one fan asked. Another snapped back. "Forget king, that man is a sword god." Then the Nexus Academy bomb dropped. Instantly, haters began digging up his old promises about joining the association. He'd claimed he wanted public service, but trolls were calling him a corrupt sellout, hurling endless digital vitriol. Suddenly, a third headline hit Nexus Hunter and Suho was diving headfirst into the legendary swamp of despair. The guy's a total psycho, one user typed. Others mocked the idiots who thought he only cared about money. Look at your faces now, he taunted. Meanwhile, fake fans claimed they'd been day one supporters all along. One guy declared Suho his new idol, threatening to personally deal with anyone brave enough to talk trash. Scrolling through the chaos, Suho noted the shift toward hype. A satisfied smirk played on his lips. Everything was moving like clockwork. Just then, a completely drained Cholman stumbled into the room looking half dead. Slumping forward, Cholman massaged his temples. Suho cut to the chase. Did I get clearance for the swamp? Cholman sighed, recalling the president's explosive reaction. The association chief had practically screamed his lungs out during the meeting. Give him access already, he'd barked, calling Cholman a moron for hesitating when Suho first made the request. Now it seemed the hero had a VIP pass to every dangerous gate in the entire country. While Cholman braced for a mountain of soul-crushing paperwork, Suho offered a quick word of genuine thanks. Weaving through the desks, Suho dropped another bombshell. He was gunning for the rank 5 exam by year-end. Keep it hush-hush, Suho warned. Cholman instantly mimicked, zipping his lips, promising total and absolute silence. He swore to be quiet as a grave. Suho chuckled, realizing his joke was taken way too seriously. That reaction was pure gold. Laughing it off, Suho decided it was finally time to go conquer that gate. In Incheon, the rank S Swamp of Despair loomed like a dark omen over the desolate landscape. Camera crews swarmed as Suho faced the portal. Onlookers whispered in fear no hunter had ever survived that abyss. Even with Suho's freakish talent, doubts lingered. Could anyone truly survive a place that swallowed heroes whole? In the control room, Jin Hui gripped his seat. He told the terrified staffer nearby to just chill out. Feeling bold, Jin Hui proposed a wager. He'd bet 1,000,001 that Suho would clear the damn thing. Shaking, the man agreed. He prayed for Suho's life, but deep down he knew clearing this swamp was impossible. Suddenly, Cholman froze in sheer horror. The gate's vanishing, he screamed. Every eye glued to the monitors in shock. Did he clear it already? Jin Hui gasped. No way, that's literally impossible, the other man shrieked back. Panicking, Jin Hui accidentally elbowed Cholman while demanding the exact timer. How many minutes has it even been? Not even 5 minutes, Cholman stammered. The impossible truth dawned: the system had waived every single requirement for him. Players can enter at will now. Suho looms at the foot of a tangent-sized staircase piercing an ominous, haunting sky. He vividly recalls this dungeon claiming far more lives than even the legendary Nameless Sword ever did. Not a soul returned. The public never grasped the absolute nightmare unfolding inside this twisted place. No beasts roam here. Victory requires a simple climb, yet every single step is a brutal psychological gauntlet. Mental traps saturate the air. The staircase is flanked by grotesque statues, the remains of those who failed the climb. Suho holds the secret key. Conquering this void demands an S-rank skill or artifact to shield the mind. Fail and bottomless despair rots your soul, turning your body into yet another frozen stone sentinel. Appropriately dubbed the Swamp of Despair, it's a graveyard. With a subtle smirk, Suho takes his fateful first step. None of that matters. Instantly, a soul-crushing tide of agony hits him, yet his resolve remains absolutely unshakable. Eerie purple energy swirls around him as he grins. The system echoes, dragon blood has been unleashed. Absolute mental immunity engaged. With dragon essence surging through his veins, this lethal gate becomes a casual walk. Suho ascends higher, while monstrous shadows prowl nearby. He continues his steady march, completely unfazed by the darkness. The statues thin out as he ascends. Few ever reach this height. Agonized stone faces watch him from the sidelines. They're lost forever. Years ago, the previous victor spent hundreds of agonizing days tempering his spirit to survive this. That hero tried rescuing the fallen, but a mere touch reduced those statues to nothing but cold gray dust. Isolated and helpless, he failed them. Now, Suho summits the peak and gazes down at the sea of stone. Acknowledging their immense torment, Suho clasps his hands, vowing to finally shatter their eternal chains. Only their souls can be liberated now. A shimmering portal beckons as the system crowns him the dungeon MVP. Bonus EXP and skill points flood in. The system broadcasts he is the first to ever conquer this abyss. 5 extra skill points drop, followed by a level up. His stats skyrocket as another skill point is granted. Suho grins. It's time for the grand prize. The system bestows the Ring of Emotions, revealing feelings as vibrant auras. He can now siphon and manipulate emotional energy. This rare artifact's history flashes through Suho's mind from his past. Only one player ever held this ring before. That man utilized its divine power to mend broken, bleeding hearts. But villains eventually plundered it. Suho raises his hand, determined to change the course of history this time around. He slides the ring on atop the staircase. Immediately, the band begins feasting on the swirling black emotional energy. Protected by dragon blood, the darkness within the corpses can't touch him. He kneels, triggering a new system report. The ring pulses from raw emotion, turning obsidian black. The grand siphoning of energy begins. Dark energy surges. Though the ring hits its limit, the staircase's corruption remains too vast to fully cleanse. With no other choice, he faces the exit. Turning toward the light, Suho whispers that their time here is over. As Suho emerges, a swarm of reporters ambushes him. Blinding camera flashes erupt like a thunderstorm of light. He shields his eyes, while aggressive journalists beg him to face the cameras for $1 million shot. Before he can breathe, Chilman and Jin-woo charge forward, their faces glowing with pure, unadulterated hype. Shadowboxing the air in triumph, Chilman demands the juicy details on how Suho conquered that impossible gate. He finished in exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds, shattering a dungeon deadlier than the legendary Nameless Sword. Jin-woo screams about breaking the news instantly. Suho just tells the duo to take a chill pill. Grinning, he offers them a legendary photo op. Within seconds, news of his victory nukes the entire internet. Disbelief floods the web. Did Suho really conquer the Swamp of Despair, the dungeon where 0 souls ever returned? The proof is undeniable. Dong-hyuk stares at his tablet, his mind reeling from the sheer impossibility of it. A sub-5-minute clear time. He buries his face in his hands, completely staggered by the data on screen. Suddenly, the phone shrieks. On the other end, a heavy voice introduces himself as the one and only Jong Kyung-hwan. The Korean Hunters Association president himself is calling, requesting a private moment to discuss a very urgent matter. Dong-hyuk knows this is about Suho. Instead of visiting the headquarters, he boldly suggests a lunch meeting instead. The president accepts. Ignoring an incoming staffer, Dong-hyuk immediately buzzes his secretary to get things moving. He orders Kim Mi-gang to clear the schedule and lock in a meeting with Hunter Oh Suho immediately. A sleek white sedan screeches to a halt. Jin-woo announces their arrival as they step onto the pavement. Suho checked if the studio was their next stop. Jin-hui clarified. The Despair scoop was ready for launch, just needing polish. He then proposed an epic food crawl to review top-tier spots, and Suho agreed. As the car vanished, Suho grinned at his ring, noting Jin-hui's hype had supercharged it with mana. Entering the diner, Suho approached a table, where Kyuman boisterously hailed the nation's guardian. The president gestured for him to flank Mr. Dong-hyuk. Suho thanked the big shots and sat scanning the room. Kyung-hwan, Kyuman Dong-hyuk, and the lethal Bae Song-yeol were all present. Stunned by the formality, he heard Kyung-hwan praise his god-tier clearing speed through sealed gates, calling him the country's future. Kyuman called for a toast, and Suho lifted his glass, dedicating the moment to collective victory. Clink. During dinner, the president probed Suho's legendary guild contract that lacked an expiration date. Dong-hyuk confirmed it. While standard deals were 3 years, Suho was an anomaly, too valuable to be shackled by fine print. Kyung-hwan chuckled, vibing with guild leader Dong-hyuk's alignment with their goals. He turned to Suho for confirmation. Suho replied that he truly valued such elite-level respect. Chief Bae chimed in, expressing his hype for Suho, joining the association, claiming it would revolutionize the country's power scale. With a cryptic smirk, Kyuman revealed the president's plan to bestow a prestigious letter of appreciation. Internally, Suho was hyped, since this golden ticket guaranteed his level 5 certification. I'm incredibly honored, he voiced with poise. Kyung-hwan admitted the party was for the Nameless Swordsman, but Suho's blitz through the next gate was so fast that the top brass couldn't even track him. Suho played it cool, crediting the president for the green light. The leaders loved that humble energy. Chief Bae, glass in hand, asked how he conquered the Swamp of Despair, a death trap with 0 intel. Suho clocked Bae's interrogation tactics instantly, a skill he remembered from his past life. So he kept his guard high. With a casual grin, he began painting the scene inside, claiming there were no mobs, just an endless staircase. Sensing danger, he relied on his gear, while grinding his way to the summit. The elites sat jaw-dropped while Chief Bae stroked his beard. Impressed Suho's mental fortitude, outclassed those who relied on raw stats. Kyuman then asked his current level, suspecting he wasn't even level 100. I'm only level 53, Suho deadpanned. Bae practically choked, demanding to know his secret skill. As Suho's ring flashed brilliant white, he realized the association wanted to groom him into their personal pawn. He claimed to be a healer who simply favored the blade, eventually unlocking the sword path. Chief Bae mused that while rare for supports, it wasn't unheard of. Suho realized these special force monsters had seen it all, so his story didn't set off alarms. Still, he hated being viewed as a hunting dog. He clarified that despite his sword mastery, he needed help developing his healing, knowing a hunter's career is short. Dong-hyuk and Kyung-hwan agreed, promising the Nexus Guild would provide the ultimate support. The big shots beamed, as Kyuman crowned himself the bridge between both factions. Chief Bae also offered his backing, Flooded with high-tier offers, Suho pumped his fist, vowing to wipe every gate off the map. The room erupted in cheers. Once the moon peaked, the meeting ended, and Suho and Chief Bei exited, leaving the elites behind. Suho admitted it was a solid night. Once the VIP rides vanished, Bei reached into his coat, offering Suho a smoke. Suho passed, so the chief sparked one up, calling it his post-party ritual. He slid over a business card, noting he'd actually pick up for Suho. Then he asked for Suho's coordinates. Suho explained. His crib was swamped by stands, forcing him to take refuge in a hotel. Bei scowled, calling the obsession of fangirls a legit national security threat for top-tier hunters. Suho brushed it off as affection, but Bei's aura suddenly turned ice cold. Suho realized he'd sounded naive. To a man who saw civilians as mere chess pieces, a chilling vibe shared by the president. Bei then noted that while the official exam was months away, Suho's victory was already set. Suho gave a knowing nod. The chief confessed he initially bought the modest act, but now realized Suho was no simple player. He then locked arms with the rising legend. He proposed a little roleplay, the master and servant dynamic they'd share, once Suho officially joined the ranks. Suho played along, earning a dry chuckle. Pai then asked if he was ready to ditch gate raids forever. To enlist in the special force right now. Suho froze. As Pai flicked his cigarette, Suho felt the trap closing. The hidden agenda was clear. This high-ranking chief hadn't just lingered. He stayed to scout Suho himself. Forget mining info through Donghyuk. Suddenly, the ring of emotions flared, bathing the scene in brilliant white light. Suho manipulated Pai's mind, masking his true intent. With a fake grin, he praised the special force as the ultimate path. Positive vibes surged. Ethereal white mist drifted from Pai's eyes as he marveled at Suho's burning drive. He respected that fire. Most hunters just chased delusions. Then he probed into Suho's connection with Chu-Man. Suho admitted they were tight, but added that building a solid bond with Pai was his top priority. He wanted the president's favor too, especially a smooth alliance with the special force chief. Pai beamed. Clapping Suho's shoulder, he praised his silver tongue. Suho offered a polite word of thanks. Suho then voiced his desire for a special recruitment slot. Pai stroked his chin, lost in calculation. Openings for level 5 hunters were already scheduled for the end of the year. Why bother with special perks for someone destined to pass anyway? But Suho was playing a deeper game. The ring was twisting Pai's interest into raw loyalty. It was a temporary high, but powerful. It was enough for now. Pai admitted he was shocked by Suho's intense devotion to the association. Regarding the special intake, Pai noted it was rare, but exceptions could be made for the right person. Suho showered him with flattery, making the chief blush. Pai explained that while the board makes the calls, any staff shortage in his department would give him the leverage to bypass the red tape. But there was a catch. Suho needed to prove he was an asset they couldn't afford to lose. Suho assumed he meant clearing gates, but Pai corrected him. The special force hunts awakened criminals. That was the real mission. Suho had slipped up. Pai warned that criminals with powers were a different breed. Lethal threats. Suho was talented, but gate raids were child's play compared to this. Street war is a different beast. To prove his worth, Suho had to bag a high-priority fugitive, deliver them, and he'd be hired within 8 weeks. As a car arrived, Pai shared a final thought. Rookies usually panic at the mention of fugitives, but Suho didn't blink. He had ice in his veins. With a smirk, Pai left. Suho recalled his past life, where Pai didn't even know he existed. Back then, fame only came after the nameless swordsman duel. Now the board was already reset. These villains and their lackeys were perfect pawns, expendable sacrifices for the grand scheme he was spinning. He stood before a row of pristine buildings. His shadow elongated as acrid smoke wafted from a nearby window. He'd found the Viper's nest. Activating magic detection, he scanned the building, pinpointing a cluster of hostiles. He casually hefted a loose brick in his left hand. Then, without hesitation, he hurled it, shattering the glass where the syndicate huddled. Inside, a startled thug began to stammer. He screamed in confusion while his buddy roared that some brat was looking for a death wish. The crew poured out of the building, itching for a fight. They came to a halt before Suho. They barked for answers. A nervous blonde thug eyed him, wondering if he was hammered or just insane. Suho offered a chillingly calm smile, confirming his sobriety. Then he asked if they were the crypto-scamming trash, the ones draining digital wallets through elaborate schemes. Instantly, a wave of terror washed over the thugs. He cut to the chase, asking where they'd stashed Seogi-1. The criminals exchanged panicked looks. How did this random guy know their secrets? One whispered that he had to be an undercover cop. Another snarled they needed to silence him. A third cowered, worried about the consequences of killing a civilian. The leader barked back, this punk knew too much. There was no turning back now. Elimination was the only option. Suho gave a weary smirk. These bottom feeders were honestly pathetic. He dared them to try and take him. They might actually make decent target practice. He summoned his shadow spear. A single blast erupted, manifesting spectral chains that bound a thug instantly. Sinister purple energy spiraled around his captive form. Panic laced his bald friend's voice, but Suho remained unfazed. Thugs lunged with venomous insults, yet he danced through the chaos like a ghost. A blonde assailant thrust his spear, scoring a direct strike. The impact was perfect, yet Suho didn't even flinch. It was useless. Horror paralyzed the thug. As Suho, flecked with crimson, flashed a chilling smirk. Suddenly, the system pinged, blood weapon activated. A jagged scarlet spear materialized in Suho's grip. With one brutal thrust, he sent the thug hurtling across the dirt like a ragdoll. Murder was off the table, but a brutal beatdown. That was fair game. Suho narrowed his eyes as the next victim charged forward. The fool barked an insult before a heavy blow sent him airborne. Seconds later, only the bald thug stood trembling alone. "This is insane," the man whimpered, turning to flee. He didn't get far. Suho's blood spear hammered straight through his calf. Leaving so soon, Suho asked coldly. Surrounded by broken bodies, he looked at the moaning criminals and commanded them to shut up, unless they craved a second round of agony. Efficiently, he dumped their bodies into his subspace portal and dusted off his palms. Only one task remained, finding Soji-1. Suho stepped into the kitchen, which looked like a literal war zone. There he was. Suho spotted. G1 collapsed on the floor, unconscious, in front of a glowing laptop screen. Suho spoke his name. G1's eyes flickered open, meeting the hero's gaze with a dazed, empty expression. "Back with us?" Suho questioned. G1's head spun as he took in his surroundings, his voice trembling as he asked what occurred. Suho offered a calm introduction. G1's blood ran cold. "Wait, are you actually that Han Suho from the headlines?" he stammered. He couldn't process Suho's presence, let alone the sudden disappearance of the brutal thugs who had held him captive. Pure terror gripped him. Suho recalled G1's future memoir. The man had endured 6 months of hellish imprisonment and torture. Seeing G1 was too shattered for words. Suho silently reached out, offering a steady hand to the broken man. The ring flared, sensing G1's pitch-black despair. Gently, Suho pressed his palm against the man's chest to begin the purge. The darkness vanished. "Better?" Suho asked. G1 blinked, reeling from a sudden weightlessness in his heart he couldn't explain. Suho knelt to his level, explaining softly that he'd used a skill to mend his fractured spirit. He looked half dead earlier. A sharp gasp escaped G1. "What happens now?" he whispered. Am I going to prison for this?" "Why would you?" Suho countered. G1 confessed to his sins, but Suho cut him off, pointing to the obvious truth. Coerced victims don't belong behind bars. G1 nodded slowly, though suspicion still flickered in his weary, bloodshot eyes. "I'm not in the records yet." "How'd you find me?" G1 muttered. Suho simply credited his success to a unique ability. It was a secret skill, one he shared only because G1 was absolutely vital to his ultimate master plan. Clutching his hand nervously, G1 insisted he was worthless. Suho's voice rang out with absolute, unwavering certainty. "You're wrong. You're Korea's sole cyber-type user," Suho declared. G1's jaw dropped. How could this stranger know his deepest hidden secret? It was a legendary rarity, granting the power to project one's consciousness into the infinite expanse of the digital realm. Only 2 souls had ever awakened this gift, Soji-1 himself and a monstrous entity known only as Overload. Overload, weaponized digitization attempting to enslave the global web and evolving into a threat no army could possibly hope to stop. Even with the system's arrival, only one man possessed the power to take Overload down, the man sitting right here. In the original timeline, G1 traded his life to erase Overload forever, remembered by history as the martyr media. His tragic destiny was etched in his memoir. Suho clenched his teeth. This time he was rewriting that dark history. No Overload, no sacrifice. Suho looked him in the eye and stated plainly, "This is why I need you by my side. The gates and the system are destined to devour the world." Suho knew he couldn't survive that apocalypse as a lone wolf. "Will you join me?" Suho asked. Stunned, G1 watched as wisps of black energy were sucked into the hero's mysterious ring. Absorption complete. G1 shut his eyes tight. Could a broken man like him truly make a difference in this world? He would have sold his soul to escape that cellar. Now he felt a burning debt to the man who saved his life. Clenching his fist, G1 realized his power could be a weapon of mass destruction if left in the wrong hands. "I'll try," he whispered. Suho saw it then, the same selfless hero he'd read about in those future pages. A man forged in hell who kept his heart of gold. Suho thanked him. "Step 1, let's get some real food." G1 hesitated, admitting he was broke. Suho simply kicked a pair of slippers his way. "Forget the bill. It's on me." "My treat," Suho smiled. Dazed G1 asked how he knew so much. Suho just winked, blaming it on his skill. Tears blurred G1's vision as Suho acknowledged his pain. Later, between mouthfuls of food, the man apologized for his manners. He felt ashamed for eating like a starving animal. Suho just laughed it off and ordered another massive plate for him. Emptying his bowl, G1 offered a timid thanks before nervously speaking up. Suho insisted they drop the formalities. Since they were basically peers, he urged Jiwon to skip the titles and just use his name. As his second bowl vanished, Jiwon nodded, telling Suho to act like they were longtime buddies. He wondered why Suho joined the association instead of running his own elite powerhouse guild. Closing his eyes, Suho admitted that despite the government's red tape, no